Download the free Odyssey app, follow 1063 WORD, and have news alerts sent to your phone. I'm Lee Rogers with The Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD. Good morning, Tara.
Running on fumes this morning. Always go to bed late on Halloween because, I take the kids out.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the diesel shortage.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Yeah.
So, we got to keep reminding people about that because, give it a couple more days. The Rise Guys going to figure out this is going on. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and their audience is going to go buy all the stuff. So that is our goal. We're going to get you WRD listeners. We take care of you here to the stores. You can raid the shelves in anticipation of the coming Biden diesel shortage. We have about 10 days left before this thing hits, according to Fox News. I'm just passing this on. I don't know how bad it will be. That's where it gets interesting, Lee.
Yeah.
Because Bloomberg reported it about a week ago. I was all over it.
Yeah.
And then, radio silence, of course, because that'll make Joe Biden, the Democrats, look bad. So we got to pretend we're not having a diesel shortage. And of course, they have absolutely no plan of any kind to fix it. They just say they're keeping their eye on it, which means they're watching it devolve into chaos, the very chaos they had hoped for. That's the transition. It doesn't mean they're actually doing anything about it. I mean, if you've followed Fox News' reports recently on the baby formula shortage, it's as bad as it ever was. I mean, there are still moms who have formed networks across states. You know what they do? They sit on the shelves. In other words, they go in shifts to stores to look for baby formula. And then instead of hoarding it, they distribute it throughout their network. Whatever mom is there at whatever time might go and buy $500 worth if it hits the shelf. And then she doesn't keep it all. She distributes it throughout the network. And this is what you have to do in the Biden era. And remember, that absolutely is Biden's fault because they shut that baby formula factory down. The government did that.
Which is eerily similar to the diesel fuel shortage because they have shut down refineries because of environmental regulations.
They did, and they did that. We just actually shut down another refinery. We've shut down 2 in the last 4 months, as if we don't need them. And this is what happens: diesel moves your food, diesel moves your medicine, and diesel moves the fuel, the gasoline you put in your car. But somehow the Biden administration thinks you'll be just fine without it. You'll adapt or something. So that's where we are. So, yesterday, my sister makes certain components of my mom's Thanksgiving so well. It's just not the same. So, I was in a panic. I said, tell me, you got to go to the store. We're not going to have this stuff, So we don't know what it's going to look like. That's what nobody's saying. We have the diesel moving companies saying, we're at a code red. This is a big deal. This is a mess. We got, on October 14th, they said we had 25 days left. Okay, but what does this look like in terms of goods on the shelves? Nobody knows, Lee. Nobody knows. Maybe you won't. Is it going to be, you'll barely notice it on up to, holy cow, what do I eat? I don't know. Nobody does. It's a very under the radar story. And that kind of scares me. Because I open the show almost every day saying, hey, the biggest story today is the one they're not telling you about. And I hope this isn't that story. I really do, because if you look a year later, remember what happened. The Wall Street Journal explained this. Normally, when there's a big food processing plant and there's some sort of environmental problem with it, or some kind of potential poison or problem or whatever, the federal government will go in, keep it running, and they'll monitor it.
Mm-hmm.
In the baby formula shortage situation, they just shut it down. And it was a key formula synthesizing all these ingredients on particular lines of critical formula. They just shut it down.
And walked away.
That formula, the plant is still not fully up and running. The Biden administration could, if you look, you send Ron DeSantis in there for 2 weeks, like he did with that critical crossing, remember, in Florida, it's going to be up and running. No
Trump
problem.
would have done something.
Oh, Trump would have done something.
You can.
Any of them. But no, Biden doesn't care. They just don't care. And so it's just not a priority. And this is the deal. And I'm afraid that's how it's going to be with diesel. So it's a problem. Joe Biden, counting on the fact that his supporters do not understand basic economics or so utterly misinformed by the mainstream media they couldn't ever hope to untangle what the truth is now threatening oil producers, American oil producers. Did you hear this?
Oh, yeah.
Threatening them, you better find a way to lower prices or we're going to tax you. And here's my favorite part. And you better up production. Says the guy whose government has shut down how many refineries again in the last
2 refineries in 4 months?
2 refineries.
And it doesn't matter how much oil you pump
months.
if you do not have the refinery capacity, and we are at maximum capacity now.
We were before we shut down the refineries. Yeah.
We were at maximum capacity.
Absolute maximum.
There is no way to significantly increase the amount of diesel fuel, kerosene, jet fuel, gasoline that is refined in this country because the refineries are at maximum capacity and you have shut down them. So it doesn't matter. They could pump 1 billion more barrels of oil a day and it wouldn't make any difference because you can't do anything with it.
And the amazing part about that too, do you realize we have not added? This is the Saudis were trying to explain this to Joe Biden. They were speaking slowly so we could understand, but it didn't work. This was last weekend, the big confab they had in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. We have not increased our refining capacity since 1970. 1970. But what we have done is shut down refining capacity. So, I mean, this is good. It's going to catch up with you, and to pretend otherwise is idiocy. But, and if you look, okay, if you look at this, okay, let's just do this. 1970, all right. Population of the United States of America, 208 million. We're at what? 300 and, well, heck, who knows? 300 and, I don't know, 20, 40, 60 plus the country of Guatemala that has come here. I don't know. Okay, that's like 150 million more people than 1970, but we continue to shut down refineries. We have not increased the supply. So, I mean, this is just, it's absolute madness. And if you want to talk about oil prices, right, let's go back to the base product, right? Because refineries, diesel, whatever, it all starts out as oil, right? Okay, who is the person on earth who has had the single greatest impact on oil prices for the world? It's not oil CEOs. It is Joe Biden.
But he'll tell you it's Putin.
Yeah, what a joke. So if Joe Biden would like for oil companies to make less money, and I'm a big fan of that, right? And ironically, so are the oil companies. They desperately want to produce more. The only way to bring the price down, because oil is a world market. It's not a U.S. market. They'd like to think it is, and they confuse Americans, make them think it is, but it's not. It's a world market. And so all the oil that goes on the market on any given day determines the price of a barrel on any given day. American oil producers can do absolutely nothing about that except produce more. There is only one way, and it is the one thing Joe won't let them do. And so, I mean, this is for Joe Biden to hit the oil company. Do you realize Joe is literally in court now, his administration, fighting new leases. He is fighting the oil companies to keep them from getting new leases while telling them they damn well better produce more or he's going to tax them. It's jaw-dropping. It's jaw-dropping. And we've had I've had John Katsimedes, who is an oil refining billionaire. He owns refineries. And he's saying, listen, I don't want to gouge you. I want to produce more and bring the price down. But they won't let me. They won't let me. And that goes back to Joe Biden's 70 regulations that he put on drilling on federal lands where 20 and 25% of our natural gas and oil comes from. People don't realize Joe has incredible power executively over oil production because a lot of it is on federal lands and federal leases. So you pay at the pump. But he figures you don't know that. He figures you don't know that, which is why he said this.
The profits are a windfall. The profits are a windfall of war. The windfall from the brutal conflict that's ravaging Ukraine and hurting tens of millions of people around the globe. You know, at a time of war, Any company receiving historic windfall profits like this has a responsibility to act beyond their narrow self-interest. If they don't,
They can't.
they're going to pay a higher tax on their excess profits.
They
and face
can't.
other restrictions.
He won't let them. Again, Lee, if Joe would like to kneecap Putin, make him get less for a barrel of oil, and save the American people so they can afford things like food, he'd take the sanctions off Russia. Worst thing he could do to Russia right now. He'd take the sanctions off Russia, put the oil back in the world market. But he won't. He won't. Putin would make less money, have less money to fund the Ukraine war. It would strain Putin, and it would help Americans, and he won't do it.
Now look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Got a disabled vehicle, 85 southbound around the Pelham Road area. That is partially blocking some traffic. Got some slow to stop and go travel from about the 56-mile marker past the Highway 14 bridge area down to the Pelham Road area. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center, brought to you by Common Sense Retirement Planning.
I had a few problems yesterday with Rumble. Entirely self-generated. So I apologize with the not updating the screen. I'm going to be better about that today. I've got a sticky on the computer. So please join us on Rumble. You can go to rumble.com, find my channel, Tara Servatius, all one word, and join everybody else there who is commenting along the side. It's a lot of fun. And I try to interact with you guys as much as I can. During the show, time is limited, but I do try to do that. So join the live dimension of the show. Okay, your mama told you, you better stay clean. Get those ears clean. Clean behind the ears, boy. And if she had discovered, if she was like my mama anyway, if she discovered a failure to wash oneself, she'd have been horrified. My mom hated germs. She waged a lifelong battle against them. She was a nurse. And so this article would not go down well with her. So I mean, like, what would happen if you stop showering? You ever wonder that? What would happen after a week? A month? Actually, no, a month or two, because my husband's done that in the Marines. It's pretty nasty. But I mean, would you get sick? What if you didn't shower for a year? 2 years? You'd get sick, right? Like you'd end up in the ER somehow with some kind of infect, or would you? What if you went 60 years without taking a shower? Could you do that? Would you get sick? Apparently not. I don't know if you ever read about this guy, world's dirtiest man. He's an Iranian hermit, lives in Iran, obviously. He's been written about many times over the years. He had a fear of showering and not much access anyway to cleanliness, I guess you could say. So he didn't take a shower for more than half a century. You should see this guy. I mean, he's caked. You're going to end up with dirt caked on you. His hair is caked too. But I'm like, how long did he live, right? Because we're all trying to figure this one out, right? Trying to figure out, how do we live the longest? Wait do you hear this? 94 years. He lived 94 years. No shower for 60 of those. And he may have messed up a good thing because he took a shower 3 months ago and now he's dead. So, I mean, I don't know if those two things are connected. But Haji, that's his last name, Haji, covered in soot, living in a cinder block shack, was reported by local media to not have bathed with water, soap in some 60 years. And people go out there to interview him. This went on for years. They'd never seen such a gross person. Anyway, you wonder, well, what is this guy's formula? Well, he would regularly eat roadkill. He was very poor. Smoke a pipe filled with animal excrement when he could not get tobacco. And believed that cleanliness would make him ill. Maybe he was on to something. Photos showed him smoking multiple cigarettes at once when he could get tobacco. But the villagers persuaded him to wash for the first time, and 3 months later he was dead. Now, he did reject water in favor of what he called a fire bath. He would light a bonfire, smoke marijuana, and stand on one leg, praying to the Lord Shiva. Now, I don't recommend that, but it worked for him. I just think it's interesting. You know, a couple of years ago, one of the most interesting lifestyle things I've ever done on the station, they were analyzing dirt, and do you know what they found in it? Shocking thing they found in it. Antibiotics. Natural antibiotics in the dirt. I think about what kids aren't eating. You know, it was interesting last night. I was having a conversation with a guy. You know how everybody now for Halloween, I don't know if you went trick-or-treating or drove through your neighborhood or drove through a neighborhood if you don't have kids in the house anymore. There's a guy sitting out there because that's what people do now. They sit at the end of their driveway and they give out the candy, right? And he was blown away. So he hadn't brought enough candy because our neighborhood is like slam full of kids. It's like my third year trick-or-treating there now. And the first year blew me away. I had no idea so many kids lived in our neighborhood. No clue. I didn't think there were a lot. We bought way too little candy, too. He was new to the neighborhood, so he hadn't seen a lot of kids. He didn't buy a lot of candy. And then they come out, I mean, the streets are jammed with them. And he's like, he said, what the heck? I mean, what do they spend? They spend the rest of the year inside on their devices. And once a year they come out, you had no idea they were there. Well, they're not in the dirt. They're not eating the dirt. They're not eating the good, healthy dirt like we did. Did you ever make a worm pie? And of course, you had to sample it. Double dog dare you, right? It was good for you. It was good for you. You ate the dirt with the antibiotic in it. And there was another study, too, that was fascinating. Our skin isn't as healthy. You know why? Because it doesn't have that natural coating that we used to have when we lived in the wild of kinds of dirt. And now we find out there was antibiotic in the dirt. So there's a lot of things going on we don't understand. So this guy might have been on to something. We don't know. He's dead now. But just interesting. Just interesting. It's interesting to me. My neighborhood is extremely diverse, which is really cool. I love it. And, Dimwali is right now. Like half my neighbors are Indian. So they've got all their lights up for that. If you have Indian neighbors, you notice they've put their lights up. And that always coincides with Halloween. So it kind of is a little confusing because the house would be all lit up. You think they're giving out candy, but they're not. And whatever. But yeah, the Indian culture is very different. Their kids playing the street. And I'm talking little kids, 3 years old, 4 years old, tagging along behind the older ones. Sometimes not a mom in sight. So you cannot drive in my neighborhood, but very carefully. You would have no idea there were anything but Indian kids living in our neighborhood. And you know what is neat about those kids? You notice something my husband and I have noticed? Ain't one of them fat. Not one. You know why? They're out. They're getting the vitamin D. They're healthy. They are eating the worm pie, and they are liking it. That's just interesting, the culture. I think they come here and they feel America is so safe. A lot of the moms' English isn't very good, so maybe they're not getting a real good dose of the news every day, so they let the kids out. And they play all day. It gets dark, they come in. Cannot drive fast. 25 too fast in my neighborhood because these kids are out everywhere. So it's just interesting to see the cultural differences. They look so happy, too, like they're having a ball.
Some upstate sheriffs defend themselves against calls of racism in a traffic stop. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center. Press conference held by two upstate sheriffs yesterday concerning the stop in search of a college bus. It was earlier this month. The bus from Shaw University from Raleigh was stopped and then searched. Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright and Cherokee County Sheriff Steve Mueller held a joint press conference yesterday concerning that incident. They say the search was part of Operation Rolling Thunder, which is a week-long effort to take drugs off of Spartanburg County highways. Shaw University, which is an HBCU, and the school's president feels that the search was racially motivated. The bus had 18 students and other staff members on board. No drugs were found in the search. Shaw University President Paulette Dillard said in a statement, quote, "I am outraged. This behavior of targeting black students is unacceptable and will not be ignored or tolerated. Had the students been white, I doubt the search would have occurred," end quote. Sheriff Chuck Wright has reportedly spoken to Dillard and has invited her to come and review the footage of the scene. Sheriff Wright said at the press conference that the bus was weaving in traffic, and one of the K-9 units, once the bus had been stopped, alerted officers to a bag in the luggage compartment of the bus, prompting that search. Sheriff Wright also noted in the press conference there were no markings on that bus either. 5 members of Congress from North Carolina have asked for the Department of Justice to conduct a thorough review of the search. A teenager is in custody and a deputy injured after an officer-involved shooting in the Midlands. Deputies and SWAT team personnel from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office responded to a home in the town of Beach Island Friday evening. Sheriff's Office says a 15-year-old murder suspect was believed to be inside the home. After an exchange of gunfire, the suspect taken into custody. One deputy was injured in the shootout and taken to an area hospital. No update on that deputy's condition and no report of injuries to the suspect either. The suspect has not been identified due to his being a juvenile. This is the 4th officer-involved shooting in Aiken County this year. SLED investigating, which is standard protocol in these officer-involved shootings. That's a look at news. The latest traffic and the upstate's most trusted forecast are coming up next. Now look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. In Greenville County, got some delays, 85 southbound, once you get past the GSP exit down to around the Pelham Road area just before that. Also reports of a collision 85 northbound. This is around the 51-mile marker. That'll be around the 385 Woodruff Road interchange. Some delays on the northbound side of 85 in that area as well. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center, brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's a right way to clean. Got a news tip or story idea? Email news at 1063WORD.com. I'm Lee Rogers with The Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
All right, so the first of fall's, let's get rid of that echo. The first of fall's major milestones behind us. Waving to everybody on Rumble. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. streaming the show live, which is really cool. Rumble.com, my channel, Tara Servatius, all one word. You can catch Charlie in the afternoon at Charlie on air at Rumble too. So, one of fall's first major milestones gone. Halloween. I was out trick-or-treating last night. So I'm a little running on fumes this morning, not going to lie to you. But I love watching the kids do it. I have just a couple more years left of it before they're too old. And I just have the melancholy about that. You know, when you're in the thick of it with little kids, it's so exhausting to do Halloween, and you got everybody dressed and got to get them fed early, and just it's like herding cats with kids. Now they're older. And I'm watching the parents, just look kind of discombobulated, trying to get them all running in the right direction. And I don't know. I miss it. I miss those little ones in their precious costumes. But we had a great time last night, and we walked many miles in pursuit. Came out with 2 bags of candy, so each, dear Lord, helped them hide it from their father so he won't steal it. And off we went. So there we go. Okay, I want to re-up what's going on, folks. The things that we are finding, folks, we are in an absolute struggle against our government right now, and every day we find out how bad it is, and it is always worse than the day before. But what has just come out from The Intercept is absolutely horrifying. I mean, there are no proper words to describe it. I'll let Fox News give you an idea of where we are. You're going to want to know this name, Laura Demlow. Remember that one. We're going to be using it a lot. Aside, another name, Elvis Chan. They're the FBI agents. The FBI has come to believe, and we now have copious documents demonstrating that in The Intercept this morning. Great investigative piece with links that they have put up there. The FBI has come to believe that terrorism is no longer its focus or priority. So we have 98 people on terror watch list come across the border. That ain't no big deal. It's not a big thing. The Department of Homeland Security has abandoned its mission of Homeland Security against foreign actors. We know this because they put it in writing. What is the new mission? Both these agencies, remember, the FBI is subservient to the Department of Homeland Security. What do both these agencies now believe their job is? They have changed their mission to silence half the country. Let that sink in. To silence half the country, so that lies can travel round and round and round the world with no opposition, because everything they have silenced, bar none, was the truth. And everything they have pushed was a lie. So this is where we are this morning, folks. My God, I feel like I've woken up in an authoritarian regime. Here we go.
The FBI agent who actively worked to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story is now advising the Biden administration's push to suppress misinformation on social media. The Intercept reporting Laura Demlow warned officials that the threat of misinformation on social media could undermine support for the U.S. government. During a meeting in March attended by Twitter execs, Demlow reportedly said, quote, "We need a media infrastructure that is held accountable." Leaked DHS documents obtained by The Intercept detail these plans, which include suppressing information on the origins of COVID-19, racial justice, and last year's U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, among other topics. Republicans have vowed to investigate the U.S.'s chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan and the subsequent Taliban takeover of that country.
Okay. The key phrase that he just uttered that is in these Department of Homeland Security memos, they think their new mission, because remember, the Department of Homeland Security was started by George W. Bush to secure the homeland after 9/11 against terrorists, foreign actors, right? That was the purpose. Foreign actor. Their new mission, as they describe it in writing, this is the mission of the Department of Homeland Security and the FBI, which is subservient to the Department of Homeland Security. You want to know what they think it is? To stop speech that could undermine support for the U.S. government. You heard him say it there. Let me read it again from their own documents. This is the story of every authoritarian regime ever since Marx wrote his manifesto. And the left was born and decided they'd try again and again and again to implement it. And eventually, if they killed enough people, it would work. Eventually, if they silenced enough people, it would totally work. What do they think their new mission is? This is the single piece of horror in here that crystallizes it. I cannot believe I am talking about the United States of America this morning. And if you want to read the article, it's long, but boy, is it illuminating. It's called Truth Cops, and it's in The Intercept this morning. And what I like about it is they have links to all of this. You don't take their word for it. The Department of Homeland Security and the FBI have come to believe that their mission is to stop speech that, quote, could undermine support for the U.S. government. Okay. All the speech they're stopping happens to be true. But if it makes you not like your government, well, they're such good people. Folks, I now understand how countries end up at the point where people disappear in the middle of the night. This is where this is going. This is what's happening. It's where this is going. Let me remind you of something. Okay. What is the agency? Which agency last week got digital identity legislation voted out of committee and onto the floor of the Senate? It's already passed in the House. It's a done deal. You're getting a digital ID. They're already building the infrastructure, Department of Homeland Security. So they know who you are. Okay, so it's already passed in the House, passed out of Senate committee last week. What agency is that? The Department of Homeland Security. Why? Because the goal is to move from combating misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, as they call it, to targeting the individuals who produce it, so that the mis and disinformation won't just be illegal. You will. You will. $200 million. Start building the infrastructure for the digital ID. Do you know what you're getting a digital ID? Do you know that? It's all very exciting. I mean, I could do the rest of the show on what's in this report. It is shocking what they are doing. But they admit in these documents they have abandoned their original mission they were created by the Bush administration for. By the way, those of you who listen to me at WBT in Charlotte, those of you who called my manager to complain because I was trashing Bush every day and screaming about the Department of Homeland Security and how badly this was going to end, maybe if you're still with me, you remember. I told you it would end just like this. Just like this. In 2003. And here we are. Here we are. Just like I told you. I'm always right on a long enough timeline. Remember that.
Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Got an issue in Greenville County now. Got a collision. 85 northbound around the 50-mile marker. This is right about where the off-ramp to 85 northbound is for the 385 Woodruff Road interchange. And at this point, it's up against the median wall there, but they've got all three lanes blocked for the moment. It looks like they're trying to clear out some of the vehicles, but there are ambulances and fire trucks on the scene there, as well as the highway patrol. Just now, the traffic is beginning to move on the right-hand side very slowly, and we're looking at about a 2-mile backup right now. Things backed up to around the mile marker 48, US 276 exit on 85 northbound. So expect some slow travel, Greenville County 85 northbound, starting about the Lawrence Road, Pleasantburg Drive area up to the Pelham or Woodruff Road area for the next few minutes. Now the Upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center.
Clear Springs, Superior. Y'all, we are in an absolute war with our government. There is no other way around it. This Intercept article this morning, I could do the whole show on it. I actually might. I don't know. It depends on how I feel next hour. There's so much here. Do you remember about a month ago when I went through an existential crisis? Because look, I could talk about this stuff on the air, but it becomes real when it's you. And I'm standing in the shower, and I had that moment in the shower. I'll always remember where I was like, I'm under FBI surveillance. I have to be. Because if you remember the New York Post broke the story, right? And they didn't know it then, but they had only the tip of this story. That if somebody sent you a message on Facebook, private message, I get hundreds of them a year from you, expressing doubt in the federal government, doubt in the FBI, just, distaste with it, or questioning the results of the 2020 election. Your private message was scooped up by Facebook and sent to the FBI. It was then referred to the field office, and you were put under surveillance. So those messages, and I'm talking about messages like, well, talking about violence or anything like that, nothing like that. All you had to do was express doubt or distrust in the federal government. Like, I get these messages from you several times a day. Hey, Tara, our federal government is out of control. What can we do to stop it? Here's an article you might want to use on your show. Like your show. Thank you. That put me and you under surveillance. So I want to say hello this morning to my FBI minder. I'm waving here on the screen. Hey, good morning. Kiss my keister. We got to stop this, folks. We have to stop this. Now we learned this morning from The Intercept that the same FBI agent who suppressed the news of Hunter Biden's crimes and the laptop said it was Russian disinformation, got social media to suppress that, has been promoted. She did such a great job lying to everybody. She now coordinates the FBI and Biden administration's response to misinformation, which is to say she spreads it and shuts down anyone questioning their narrative. This is terrifying. And wait till I tell you the story. I'm going to weave it throughout the shows. We've got a lot of other stuff to do today. Wait do you hear where all this is coming from? You want to know who started it? Trump did. Wait, what? Trump did. Huh? I'll explain. In the next hour, keep it. He didn't mean to. It's an incredible story. But he did. Yet another one of his bad appointments. Immediately went inside the Department of Homeland Security and started spying on you. And she wasn't even hired to do that. All of that coming up. Keep it tuned right here.
Election day now just a week away, and while Republicans are favored to take back the House, the Senate is on a knife's edge. Candidates in 4 key races are running neck and neck. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center, where Fox's Madeline Rivera reports.
A new poll shows Democratic incumbent senators in Nevada and Georgia either locked in a dead heat or leading narrowly over their Republican opponents. Senator Mark Kelly, the Democratic incumbent in Arizona, holds the biggest lead, ahead of his Republican challenger by a 51% to 45% margin. In Pennsylvania, Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is up slightly against Republican celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz. Republicans and Democrats are rolling out heavy hitters to barnstorm battleground states and stump for their colleagues. President Biden and former President Obama are ramping up their schedules, but it's unclear if their support will sway voters.
More than 22 million people have already voted, according to the U.S. Elections Project. President Biden calling on oil and gas companies to use their recent record profits to lower costs for Americans and increase production or pay a higher tax rate. Fox's Kevin Cork reports.
A new poll shows Democratic incumbent
President Biden wants to take a bit of a victory lap over the fact that gas prices are actually down, significantly down from their staggering high water marks earlier this summer.
Here at home in America, they're down more than $1.20 since their peak this summer, and they've been falling for the best part of the last 3 weeks.
True, gas is cheaper now than it was back in June when the national average topped $5 a gallon, a record. To hear the president tell it, it's not his policies, it's greedy big oil companies that are responsible for your pain at the pump. The White House also points out they're willing to raise taxes to compel big oil companies to produce more energy.
The president said the companies are earning windfall profits thanks to his, quote, brutal war launched by Russia against Ukraine. Republican U.S. Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina getting a re-election boost from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Chris Lee has details.
The California Republican is appearing with Mace this week for a fundraiser in Charleston. Mace's campaign says Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and former Hawaii Rep Tulsi Gabbard are also stumping for her in the closing week before the midterm elections. Mace's campaign says the diverse array of political figures showcases her broad appeal as she runs for her second House term. Mace faces Democrat Annie Andrews in the November 8th general election. I'm Chris Lee, 1063 WORD.com News.
The U.S. Supreme Court considering doing away with affirmative action admissions at colleges and universities. Fox's Jared Halpern has more now from D.C.
The two cases deal with admissions procedures at Harvard and the University of North Carolina that take race into consideration with other criteria. Justice Amy Coney Barrett questioned if those policies have outlived their need.
What if there's no endpoint?
Other conservative justices questioned if there were race-neutral ways to ensure a diverse student body. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson noted at UNC race is one of dozens of factors.
No one's automatically getting in because race is being used. There's no real work that it's doing separate and apart from the other factors in any different way.
An opinion is expected before July. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
1063 WORD News Time. Coming up on 704, this look at business news being brought to you by Common Sense Retirement Planning. Join them Saturdays 10 a.m. to noon and Sundays at 8 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. here on 1063 WORD. Now we'll look at traffic from the 1063 WORD Traffic Center. Spartanburg County got a collision involving some injuries. Fort Prince Boulevard at Squirrel Lane. This look at traffic brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Now the Upstate's most trusted forecast from the 1063 WORD 24/7 Weather Center. Download the free Odyssey app, follow 1063 WORD, and have news alerts sent to your phone. I'm Lee Rogers with the Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
Good morning, Lee.
Hey there, Tara.
Absolutely shocking report today. You should read. Make a break in your day and read this. Everybody, every American needs to read this. It is absolutely horrifying. It's an article called Truth Cops by The Intercept. One of the most well-documented articles I've read in a long time. There's links to all of this. And it's leaked documents from inside the Department of Homeland Security. Years of internal DHS memos. And it shows in writing that they have completely abandoned their original charge, which was, intercepting foreigners who want to, commit terror attacks in our country. It was started after 9/11. The Department of Homeland Security was. And they have completely abandoned their terrorism focus. And their new focus is speech control. They believe this is their job. The exact words are that their job is to control speech, is what they believe, that could, quote, could undermine support for the U.S. government. So we're not even talking about speech that's not true or, I don't know, some kind of Russian disinformation. If it undermines support for the U.S. government, even if it's true, and especially if it's true, it's got to go. Inside their own documents, and the reason we know this, we have two things going for us right now, and only two. We are literally, what freedom we have left is dangling by a thread. Number one, we hope that when Elon Musk rolls out of bed this morning, he looks kindly upon our request to maintain the First Amendment, be a free people, and decides it's part of his profit model to allow us to do that. So we got that going for us. Maybe, I don't know. It depends on how he feels when he rolls out of bed this morning. And number two, this lawsuit, not by the Republican Party, because God forbid they stand up for their own voters and candidates as they are canceled right and left. No, that would never happen. No, by the attorney generals of Louisiana and Missouri. Somebody leaked these documents to them and The Intercept, and it is so much worse than we ever thought. In its own words, Department of Homeland Security describes pivoting away from terrorism, which is out of style. It's totally out of style. It doesn't matter if 98 terrorists have come over the border so far this year, people on terror watch list. Those are fine people because they vote Democrat. No. The Department of Homeland Security has pivoted to, quote, monitoring social media now, rather than its original mandate, the war on terror, which they say has been wound down. No time for that. They've got other people to fight, like half the country. You remember the Disinformation Governance Board that they launched?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was just the name for everything that's going on. They were going to take it public in order to further terrify the public with it. But they got busted. But according to The Intercept in these documents, it's still up and running. We still have a disinformation board. We have since 2018. It's still up and running. It gets stronger every day. They just publicly disavowed it, but it hasn't changed anything that it's doing. In a March meeting, this is more documents in The Intercept and the lawsuit, which have been filed with the court. Laura Demlow, don't forget that name. She is the FBI agent in charge of making sure that you don't say anything that might cause distrust in the federal government, dislike of the federal government, the alpha, the omega, the God, I guess now, of our country. In a March meeting, Laura Demlow, don't forget that name. We're going to talk a lot about Laura Demlow. She's the FBI agent who, along with Elvis Chanley, went to the social media companies, flat out lied to them, told them the Biden laptop was Russian disinformation, and got it censored. Got the New York Post censored. That woman. She did such a great job of hosing everybody and completely lying that not only did she not lose her job, she got promoted. So now she is in charge of this for the Biden administration, of misinformation. Misinformation, of course, being anything that's true but makes the Democrats or the government look bad.
Exactly. That might as well be the Webster's dictionary definition.
Yeah, no, it might as well. I mean, it's one I use because it's the most accurate. When you see who is involved, this is absolutely terrifying. They are beginning to pull in big corporations like JP Morgan Chase. And one of the things that they do is they also suppress any negative information about major corporations, mainly financial institutions. Why do you think they do that? JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock. Because those are the people pioneering ESG scores.
Exactly.
So we are moving into a fascist phase of society where the government's partners who are crippling investment if you have a bad ESG score, they, like the federal government, cannot be criticized. Cannot be questioned, cannot be criticized. They have the power of God in our society. They literally think this is their job, the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security, and they put that in writing. So again, the new standard, understand, it's not even mis or disinformation. It's anything that you write on social media, Google, your website, your blog, that could undermine support for the U.S. government. Truth is not a defense.
Wow.
You want to know what they censored? This is fascinating because it's the first I've heard of this, and it's their own documents. And this is a perfect example of this. And I didn't even know this was censored. Do you remember Joe Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan?
Oh, yes. How can we forget
How can we
that?
forget, right? I mean, an absolute frigging disaster. Made the, the Taliban, one of the most powerful fighting forces on earth because we left $80 billion, not million, $1 billion of military equipment behind on purpose, which was no accident. Okay. All of that, right? Because it falls under the category of being embarrassing to the federal government and making people dislike and distrust the federal government, they censored it. They work with social media to censor it. How did they do it? Oh, you'll love this. There is now a formalized process, a portal, where if you have the right federal government email address and are a bureaucrat, you can go in and directly flag content, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, for throttling and suppression. So do not question dear leaders' handling of Afghanistan. That might make the Pentagon look bad, and they're going to have to cancel you.
Not only has the final nail in the coffin been hammered shut, the coffin of the First Amendment has been lowered into the grave, and the first few shovelfuls of dirt are being thrown upon the coffin.
Yeah. It's all going on. And let me make another prediction. Okay. This is absolutely, this is a smoking gun, right? This is the knife, the murder weapon with the blood on it. Okay. We got it. We know how bad it is. There will not, let me make a prediction because I do this every day. One of the first things I do when I come here every morning, I Google two names, Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. I watch everything they do. They will not say a word about this. Not one bloody word. Not a word. And Kevin McCarthy going to be out there, head of the, he's going to be the Speaker of the Republicans, assuring us how horrible that attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband was. But the attack on us by our own federal government, not interested. Kev's just not interested. It gets worse, Lee. There's this new thing they got a hold of. It's the Department of Homeland Insecurity. They call it the Quadrennial Homeland Security Review.
Quadrennial?
Whatever that is. And in it, I mean, they were founded with a mission to protect the homeland from, foreign attack, right?
Yeah.
Terrorism, that sort of thing,
Supposedly.
right? They just decide, I mean, that is their charter from Congress. They just decide they just don't want to do that anymore. It's not interested. And it outlines their priorities now, their new priorities. And they believe their priority is to, quote, target inaccurate information on a wide range of topics that undermine support for the federal government. They believe that is their job. And that's what they're doing.
Too bad they weren't around for the Russian collusion story.
Oh,
or the Hunter
you're
laptop
gonna
story.
love this. They justify this newfound power that they have given themselves in secret without consulting Congress. They justify it because Russian interference in the election, which is the biggest irony of all because there was none. That was Hillary. Oh, granted, in partnership with a couple of Russians, yes. But yes, that was Hillary. There was no Russia collusion. So they're saying, oh, we got to go in and protect the homeland, Russia collusion. They are the ones who made it up. The biggest lie of all. So they tell a lie to justify shutting people down. And this is why the left, it makes sense, the Democrats, anything that makes them look bad is Russia collusion. It's Russian disinformation. Because why? That puts it right into the purview of the Homeland Security Department and this new agency called CISA. This is incredible. Do you remember the hacking in 2018? Donald Trump and we had some hacking of some of corporations, that sort of thing. They blamed it on the Russians. I never quite believed that. Anytime my government says the word Russia, my brain flips off. I just assume they're lying to me because they've lied to me endlessly about Russia on a loop. So I just assume it's a lie. They use that to create an agency called CISA, which was supposed to protect us from hacking, right? The Republicans passed it, Trump signed it. CISA never bothered to do any of that. This new agency, they immediately turned around and started surveilling Trump supporters and Donald Trump himself.
Yeah.
Oh, and silencing us through their very special, nifty little portal that they have where they can go in and if they don't like my post today, boom, there it goes. It's gone or it's got a fake rating on it. Doesn't matter if it's actually fake. No appeals process. So, and Kirsten Nielsen pioneered all this. She literally got appointed by Trump, turned around, stabbed us all in the back. Put this whole infrastructure together. Remember the blonde chick, the good-looking one, who on television played a Republican and Trump supporter? But
I'm not going to comment on that.
Oh, the good-looking part of the Trump supporter.
I'm not going to comment on it.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I just thought it would help, our male audience better reference who I'm talking about. But yeah, no, that's it.
What a sexist statement that is.
I'm a woman. I can say what I want.
Yeah.
So I got the woman card. You want to see it?
Sure.
Really
Flash the woman card.
I will. Yeah. So I'll show it to you in the hall. It's pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. And so I'm only at the beginning of this, by the way. So I'm going to weave through this throughout the show. It's a lot to get. I'm going to put it in the battleground today too. Yesterday's battleground was, of course, epic. You can get that by texting keyword battleground to 71307. Keep it tuned right here to 1063 WORD, or you can stream us live on Rumble, rumble.com, on my channel, Tara Servatius, all one word. We'll be right back.
Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Got a report of a collision, Greenville County, Whitehorse Road at Marion Road, with a lane of traffic there blocked on the right-hand side. Collision involving some injuries, Spartanburg County, US 176 at Whitestone Glendale Road. That one also blocking the roadway. Also, some of the usual delays, 85 southbound from the GSP exit down to the Pelham Road area. Also got some delays northbound 85 from around the 385 Woodruff Road area up to the Pelham Road area, northbound side of 85. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center, brought to you by Common Sense Retirement Planning.
You're listening to The Tara Show. You can text us at 71307. Absolutely shocking report from The Intercept today. And they get this from a lawsuit I've read every word of, 130 pages, all of it. That's how important it was. It took the time to do it. Lawsuit by the attorneys general of Missouri and Louisiana against the federal government for silencing you. This is absolutely shocking. Behind closed doors in their own documents, the FBI, the Department of Homeland Security, has changed. They don't have the right to do this. Only Congress can do it, but they don't care. Has changed their mission. It is now to censor you. And this has moved beyond misinformation, disinformation, Russian disinformation, although that was their excuse for it. They now intervene in anything you write or publish that makes other Americans think badly of the federal government. That is the way authoritarian regimes throughout the world operate. They're not even hiding it internally anymore. You saw Elon Musk go into Twitter and fire a bunch of people, right? One of them is Vijaya Gadde. She chaired the board doing this. And you know what their plan is? By the way, she authored the whole report on this, and this is where they're going. We have this in their documents. They're not content just to chop block your posts on social media and the post of respectable journalism outlets that get it right, like the New York Post. No, it's not good enough. Their next targets are Fox News, Talk Radio. I know they're coming for us. I figure we're pretty low on the totem pole. Fox News, Talk Radio, your private texts. So if you've got an Android, you're texting. No. The FBI needs to be involved with that. This is terrifying. This is absolutely terrifying. Folks, we have to begin to understand how this is working here. The federal government is absolutely weaponized against us. Do you know when this started? This is amazing. 2018. There was, I don't know if you remember the hacking and it was attributed to the Russians. Whenever I hear Russia, my brain flips off. I assume my government did it and is lying to me. Russia is not our enemy. Russia hasn't launched a single attack on us, period, in a memo. They've done nothing to us. Nothing. I think Russia is needed by these people in order to justify their own power. So it's 2018 and the Republicans are still in charge of Congress and Trump is still the president. So they decide that we need a new agency and they decide that, inside the Department of Homeland Security to fight these hackings that are allegedly, the FBI says, you can't believe them, coming from Russia. And maybe they are. I don't know. I just don't believe anything the FBI says. So who knows? Okay. So they formed this agency called CISA. Their only purpose is to battle cyber attacks. And then they just don't bother. They immediately go behind doors and start boasting of an involved mission. We know this because we have their internal documents. You know what they think their mission is? To monitor social media discussions. And to route disinformation concerns to private sector platforms that would eventually evolve to censorship. They censor you. In fact, they are the key agency censoring you right now. That is not their charge. And I'd love to beat Democrats up with this, but Democrats didn't start this. Trump did. He appointed Kirstjen Nielsen, and she kicked the whole thing off. The blonde chick, good-looking blonde chick. She was never one of us. Absolute enemy of the state, of the American people anyway. In 2018, even though she was not charged with doing so, she created the Countering Foreign Intelligence Task Force, and it immediately went to work. Guess what? Who they censored? Trump supporters. And eventually Trump himself. And at some point, folks, and I mean this with love in my heart for the American people. I love Trump. I do. I gave him $500. Do we have time for another 4 years of appointments of people who are at war with us? Do we have time for that? Because Trump just does not seem to have any kind of ability to discern who is and is not our enemy. And that hurts me to say that. I think he meant well. I don't think he had any nefarious, whatever. You know me. I was the biggest Trump supporter from the moment he came down the elevator. I took a big beating from a lot of you over there. A lot of you people who wanted Ted Cruz or wanted someone else. I stuck up for him. But folks, I can't do it anymore. And I love the man. I love what he did. I love what he exposed. I love how he changed the world. We don't have 4 more years. We don't have time for this. We don't have time for someone who has no judgment about who he appoints. Is there anyone he appointed who didn't immediately begin undermining us? Or is it just that we haven't figured out what Pompeo was doing yet? Because he's the only one that comes to mind. I mean, is there anybody else? Meadows, maybe? So Trump creates this. They just ignore him and their mandate from Congress and immediately begin censoring you. She creates the Foreign Influence and Interference Branch. There's actually no foreign influence. They just wanted to go after Trump supporters. And they staff it with 15 full and part-time people dedicated to censoring you. And they set up a nifty little portal that lets these busy little federal worker bees go in and censor your posts. So understand, when you see that independent fact checkers, there ain't no independent fact checkers. It's the federal government. And what is their standard in their own writing? They censor anything that reflects badly on the federal government. Doesn't matter if it's true. In fact, the truer, the more dangerous. You should see these documents. Jen Easterly, Biden's appointed head of CISA, swiftly made it clear that she would continue to shift resources in the agency away from combating terror, away from combating attacks on our infrastructure, which is the only purpose of the agency, to combat the spread of what they call dangerous forms of information on social media. Again, not misinformation, information. Criticize the federal government and they will bury you on social media. I'm only halfway through this. I haven't even gotten to the full horror of it yet. It's operating right now. Welcome to East Berlin.
An upstate mother in custody following the death of her infant child. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center. The Anderson County Sheriff's Office says Jenna Feathers has been charged with homicide by child abuse. Investigators say the child was found unresponsive in the bathtub of the family's home. Feathers was reportedly home during that incident, but apparently not near the bathtub when it happened. She is charged with the child's death and faces 3 additional charges of unlawful neglect. The Sheriff's Office says that the investigation is still ongoing. We've got more information on this story on our website, 1063WORD.com. A teenager is in custody and a deputy injured after an officer-involved shooting in the Midlands. Deputies and SWAT team personnel from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office responded to a home in the town of Beach Island Friday evening. The sheriff's office there says a 15-year-old murder suspect was believed to be inside the home. After an exchange of gunfire, the suspect taken into custody. One deputy was injured in the shootout and was taken to an area hospital. We've got no update on their condition, but the suspect was not injured. The suspect has not been identified due to his age. This is the 4th officer-involved shooting in Aiken County this year. SLED is investigating, which is standard protocol in officer-involved shootings in the Palmetto State. Greenville County Council members are scheduled to vote today on a resolution that would restrict children from accessing public library books and electronic materials that are, quote, promoting sexuality. Reportedly, the county council's measure would direct library trustees to remove books and electronic materials from the county's 12 libraries. A number of opponents spoke against restricting books in September and again last Thursday at a public comment session held by the council. Critics of the reading material claim the books have LGBTQ plus themes. That's a look at news, the latest traffic, and the Upstate's most trusted forecaster next. Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center in Spartanburg County. You got a collision 85 southbound. This is around the 58-mile marker around the Brockman-McClyman Road area. Looks like we've got a 2 or 3 vehicle collision that is up against the median wall there, partially blocking the left-hand lane, the southbound side of 85 in that area. So we're seeing some delays 85 southbound starting around the Brockman-McClyman Road area. Also reports of a collision 85 northbound to the Pelham Road area in Greenville County. And then back in Spartanburg County, got a collision Howell Road at South Carolina 290. Now the Upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center. Got a news tip or story idea? Email news at 1063word.com. I'm Lee Rogers with The Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
What will these Trump appointees do? This, by the way, was started by Kirsten Nielsen. Remember her? You can look her up. You'll recognize her. She's the hot blonde who played a Trump supporter on television when she was anything but. Went right into the federal government. Her only charge was to stop the hacking. Instead, she turned the agency on you and started spying on you and censoring you in partnership with Twitter, Reddit, Wikipedia, Google. This report is unbelievable. If you want to read this for yourself, if you really to wrap your mind around it, because it shocks the mind, you need to read this morning. It's called Truth Cops by The Intercept. I don't normally dedicate this amount of time to something, but you need to understand what is going on here. What is their standard? This is the Department of Homeland Insecurity, and CISA, and the FBI. Anything you write or spread or report that this is their quote, undermines key democratic institutions, includes the federal government, the courts, can't criticize courts, or other sectors of this financial system or public health system. You want to criticize Prisma? Gone. You know who's also censoring you? Financial institutions are beginning to. JP Morgan Chase is one of this group. And they've expanded their mission, the Department of Homeland Insecurity, CISA, and the FBI, to include taking down posts that cause doubt or bad feelings about financial institutions, not the government, companies. Why would they do that? Well, anyone who heard my interview yesterday at 8 a.m. with Diane Hardy, the Mom and Pop Alliance, knows why. These are the institutions putting out ESG scores where they rate other companies' wokeness and kill them off or send a lot of investment their way, not based on how well they're doing in terms of economically, but you just literally can't invest in a company, even if they've got great returns, with a bad ESG score, or your ESG score will go down. Do you realize they're building a system where not only will they control money and pre-program what you can spend it on, both big corporations, this is why they can't have the big corporations criticized anymore. They are merging with the government. They will begin to rate you. Diane Hardy had that yesterday. This is part of the legislation that I am going to hopefully help her get through the legislature next year. Oh, by the way, all you state legislators, I'll put you on notice right now. This is just me and you, because I know you folks listen. It gets back to you. You might be looking at Senator Tom Davis, who sold out to Al Gore out there on the coast, got $250,000 in his campaign chest, because I know they've approached you. Because they want to protect their ESG scores. They want to protect the central bank digital currency. They want to make sure they can control what you spend it on and whether they can cancel you. We're going to outlaw that in South Carolina. And they're trying to buy off Republicans to stop it. So let me just make this really clear right now. You take the money like Tom Davis did, the $250,000 to sell out and fight us and fight our freedom. You get in the way of the fight for ESG scores, which is going to be our big deal on the show next year. I'm going to make you famous. They're going to know all about you. They're going to know your office address. We don't do home addresses. We don't do that. They're going to know your office address. You're going to get a ton of mail. You're going to get a ton of phone calls. You're going to get a ton of email. Don't think you can take that Al Gore money and secretly block this legislation, because you can't. Don't even take it. Don't even make the price. It's not going to be worth it. Because we're going to dedicate the next 2 years of this show to exposing you. So don't even do it. Don't even think about it. Not worth it. Tell them no. Tell them no right now. Don't even get on their side. Don't even get in the column where you owe them. That's your warning to state legislators in the upstate. So we're going to run this legislation next year. I'm proud to announce that we already have Curtis Loftus, our state treasurer, on our site. Thank you, Curtis Loftus. He's been doing a lot of great things lately. If you get a chance, send him a thank you email or give his office a thank you call. If you heard the Curtis Loftus interview, he is drop kicking ESG score wielding companies out of our state pension fund. They're screaming like stuck pigs. Good. Thank you, Curtis Loftus, our state treasurer, who is on the right side of this. And I'm pleased to announce also that so far our attorney general has also joined the fight against the ESG scores. So they're going to be fighting it legislatively, but also in court. We're going to do the legislative side. We're going to use the text line. We're going to fight these people. We're going to make this illegal in South Carolina. We're going to protect you. So this is my warning to legislators. And I know it gets back to all of you. I know a lot of you listen. Don't take the money. Don't do it. Don't think we won't notice, because this is my promise to you. I will make you famous. I'm going to make you so famous. You are never going to dig out from under all the phone calls and emails, and then we're going to find somebody to run against you. Ain't worth it. So don't go looking enviously at the $250,000 in blood money that Tom Davis just took on the coast. Don't think you're going to take that and get away with it. The price will be way bigger. You're going to need that 250 and 250 more to undo the damage I'm going to do to you. So don't take it. Don't take the money. Be on the right side. Do the right thing for the people you represent. Do not think we will not notice. This is your warning, but it's okay. I'm going to repeat it. I'm going to make it really crystal clear. Don't. This is the fight next year. This is what we're going to be doing in January when they come back into session. We are going to fight these ESG scores, and we are going to make South Carolina a place that is free of them and free for Americans who want to come here. So that's your warning. Pass it on.
Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. That collision 85 southbound Brockman-McClyman Road area around mile marker 58. That's been cleared out of the roadway. Traffic moving through the area, but we've still got about a 2-mile backup with those residual delays there on the southbound side of 85 headed into Spartanburg County. Also in Greenville County, got a collision 385 southbound. This is near the 33-mile marker, which will put that right around the Bridges Road area in Malden. And then in Pickens County, got a collision US 178 Liberty Highway at Moorfield Memorial Highway. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center.
Here's some good news. Let me get rid of that echo. Here's some good news. You want to live longer? We all want to live longer, right? You want to be healthier? Yeah. Maybe take off a little bit of weight. There's a great way to do it. And if you think about it, it makes a ton of sense. There have been these studies kind of sporadically over the last couple of years. A lot of people think, well, if I'm going to get in shape and extend my life and be happy, be healthy, especially cardiovascularly, I got to go out there and I'm going to do like 45 minutes and I'm going to be sweating. And then they have had several studies lately showing, no, you'd be better off to just book it for, 2 to 4 minutes. Like, wait, what? Like go all out. Like pretend you're running from the water buffalo. That will get you in as good as, if not better shape than doing the long-term exercising. And I actually know people who are in good shape who do this now. It's amazing to look at their bodies. The first person I ever saw do this was a girl I knew in college who was absolutely in like shockingly good shape. And I asked her like how many, because she'd been on track. She actually ran her first year at UNC, and then she quit the track team, or I don't know, got kicked off or something. But she was still in shape from it. And I would see her go running by like at a dead run. And I asked her one time, I was like, is that what you do? Would you run for miles that way? Is that why you're in great shape? She said, no, I run for like 5 minutes a day. 5 minutes? Yeah, dead run. She said it'll tone your whole body. You'll look like you work out, but you don't. I was kind of like, was skeptical of that. I'm like, really? That's it? Are you serious? But Jim's in great shape. Well, this is what that study says. You can live on average up to 2 years longer by doing 2 minutes of exercise a day. 4 is better, but it's got to be like you're going to pound the pavement. It's got to be like, bam. You think about, what that would make sense? In ancient times, we were running 45 minutes at a regular pace from the water buffalo trying to kill us, or the saber-tooth tiger. You know what I mean? We were booking it so our body got us ready to do it again, to survive. Fascinating. I'll have more in the 8 o'clock hour. There's so many cures now for stuff that people don't know has been cured. It's actually kind of cool. Superior Healthcare is where you can go to get one of them. They've basically cured diabetes, right? A lot of people don't know that because this technology is so new, but it's finally here in the upstate. Now, it's been around for years in Turkey, where about 1 in 3 people have diabetes. It's genetic there. And this is kind of like, you ever see anybody get on dialysis? Yeah, well, this is like that. But it's for diabetes, for your pancreas. If you think about your pancreas like a heart, AFib, that weird rhythm in your heart, you need to shock it back to its original rhythm. Same goes for the pancreas. They take the sugar right out of the blood. It's usually covered by insurance. You'll see results your first month. One of my favorite side effects is to lose a ton of weight, and you'll sleep better and have so much more energy. People get incredible results from this. So if you have diabetes, type 1 or type 2, which is what's so cool about this, pre-diabetes, insulin resistance, you might not even know you have insulin resistance. You might just not be able to take off weight. You feel tired all the time. Yeah, they can check you for that too. And the results our WRD listeners are getting are amazing. Improved neuropathy, 95%. Improvement in at least one diabetic complication, 76%. Wouldn't you want to try this if your insurance paid for it? Give them a call. They're Superior Healthcare with offices in Greenville, Malden, and Spartanburg. Call them 866-88-SUGAR. That's 866-88-SUGAR for Superior Healthcare, Greenville.com. 866-88-SUGAR. Do we forget to put that?
1 week to the midterm elections, and Democrats dispatch a president and former president to round up votes in state races. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center. President Biden and former President Obama preparing to hit the campaign trail ahead of the midterms. Fox's Ashley Strohmeyer reports.
Biden is headed to Florida today and New Mexico on Thursday. Obama will make appearances in those crucial battleground states of Nevada and Arizona over the next few days. The two will finish out the campaign trail in Pennsylvania on Saturday, but it's been noted Biden has made far fewer campaign appearances than the sitting presidents before him. Politico saying, quote, with Joe Biden's poll numbers stuck in the low 40s, the sitting president has largely been absent from the trail in the final weeks of the campaign. Nobody is more in demand than Obama, even as he stars as the party's biggest draw and chief base motivator. There's an unmistakable fear that even he can't prevent what may end up being inevitable bloodletting on November 8th.
Now, the Senate is still in toss-up territory, while the House is favored to go Republican. Fox's Jessica Rosenthal has more on that.
President Biden has said if Democrats maintain control of Congress, he'll push for a bill to codify abortion protections. If Republicans take the House, many have said they will, at the very least, conduct more oversight. After the Border Patrol's fiscal year ended 1 month ago with record-breaking migrant encounters, Texas Republican Congressman Dan Crenshaw told the Fox News Rundown podcast the border is one thing they will hold hearings on.
And that results in public pressure. That may not be a satisfying answer, but public pressure can help.
Crenshaw said they'll also continue writing letters to the president about domestic oil and gas production, and that a discussion about entitlement programs running out of money is necessary. Jessica Rosenthal, Fox News.
The Supreme Court is considering the future of affirmative action admissions at colleges and universities.
Biden is headed to Florida today.
The two cases deal with admissions procedures at Harvard and the University of North Carolina that take race into consideration with other criteria. Justice Amy Coney Barrett questioned if those policies have outlived their need.
What if there's no endpoint?
Other conservative justices questioned if there were race-neutral ways to ensure a diverse student body. But Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson noted at UNC race is one of dozens of factors.
No one's automatically getting in because race is being used. There's no real work that it's doing separate and apart from the other factors in any different way.
An opinion is expected before July. In Washington, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
South Carolina Policy Council and Americans for Tax Reform held news conferences around the state yesterday, including here in Greenville, to promote two proposed state constitutional amendments.
The two amendments would require the state to save more of its tax revenue to a point that follows more closely with the general and capital reserve funds of other states.
These amendments don't raise taxes whatsoever. They tell the government to spend less and save more. This saves money in case we have hurricanes, floods, natural disasters, or most often when we have a big economic recession. The state government cannot do like the federal government and print its own money. So this just has a little more in the safety reserve account so that government can keep running at the level it's running, so they don't have to raise taxes and so they don't have to cut government service.
That was Dallas Woodhouse, the executive director of the South Carolina Policy Council. Both of these amendments will be on the November 8th ballot in South Carolina. For more on this story, visit our website. I'm Matthew Causey, 1063WORD.com News.
This Look at News brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. 1063 WORD News Time, 8:04. Business News brought to you by Common Sense Retirement Planning. Join them Saturdays 10 a.m. to noon and Sundays at 8 a.m. and 4 to 6 p.m. here on 1063 WORD.
Fighting disinfo, and their justification is, disinformation radicalizes the homeland. It can lead to disruptions in public health or in political violence. So they have a justification. We have these documents, and they're pushing forward with this broad censorship agenda. But over the last 5 years, and just broadly speaking, the story also just looks at the mission creep of DHS. This is an agency that was founded. The story also just looks at the mission creep of DHS. This is that was founded in the aftermath of 9/11 to
Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Spartanburg County got a collision, Bryant Road at Apple Road. And then in Pickens County, we've got a collision with the Deer, Robinson Bridge Road at Riverdale Road. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center. Download the free Odyssey app, follow 106.3 WORD, and have news alerts sent to your phone. I'm Lee Rogers with the Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 106.3 WORD.
Lee, this is a shocking study that actually gives me hope.
We get shocked a lot around here.
Well,
don't
we do. I mean, stuff that we find out every day that's going on is crazy. This is a new poll that has come out from NBC of all places, and YouGov, so two liberal polling organizations. 79% of the American people describe the country right now as out of control. You may be wondering, why is that a good thing? It is actually a good thing for two reasons. Number one, a lot of you walk around, you're talk radio listeners, so you carry an extra burden, okay? You know things way before other people. And you walk around maybe frustrated or mad, like, why don't these people know? Because you don't listen to talk radio. You're among the most educated people on earth just listening to talk radio. So it can get frustrating for you. You're a good 3 to 9 months ahead of the general population, sometimes years ahead, depending on the issue, right? So it gets frustrating, okay? What does this mean? This means they're catching up with us. They're catching up. And they're beginning to feel uncomfortable. Maybe the way a frog feels when the water starts to get a little warm.
Yeah, there is that.
I mean, so we're not talking about they're unhappy or they're concerned about the economy or they're very concerned about the economy, because 80% say that too. The question was out of control. 79% of Americans think the country is out of control. 21% disagree. So that is a deep, wide problem of disaffection, feeling that something is very, very wrong.
I would say that we're definitely, the country is definitely out of control of we the people, but it is fully in control by the bureaucracy and the leviathan of the federal government and state governments that we have now.
And people don't like it, and that's the good part. So we got to go through this part. There's going to be a lot more pain that people are going to have to go through, I think, before they get it, because my fear is, and the biggest spreaders of disinformation here, honestly, Fox News. My fear is that people think, see, they thought, well, look, Joe's this nice old guy, kind of like, like my crazy uncle, and he's he's harmless, he's pretty moderate, and I'll just put him in because, the American people were exhausted by the constant screaming and yelling and battle around Donald Trump. They were exhausted, and they thought they'd change it, right? Mean tweets, constant animosity, constant headbutting. We could go back. That was a mistake they made, I think, Lee. Voters thought we could go back. They thought we could go back to the 1990s. Where, Democrats and Republicans always disagreed, but it wasn't like this. And just get rid of Trump, problem solved, right? They had no idea what they were voting with Joe Biden, right? But the problem is, and this is where the disinformation from Fox News comes in that drives me crazy, is our side, and our leadership of the GOP does this too. They keep calling Joe Biden incompetent. That is a lie. That's a total lie. He's not incompetent, not one iota. Highly competent. He can't read a teleprompter worth a damn. Or find his way out of a room, and may just walk off the stage. Did you see that video with Kamala? He was going to walk off the stage. She looks panicked. She has to stop him. Yeah. And somebody tweeted, she should just let him go. She'd be president now.
Couldn't get much worse.
No, I mean, she would, but she didn't. She stopped him. So, I mean, but he is incredibly competent and highly effective at implementing the Democrats' agenda. And this is the problem. The American people still have to learn this is not because Joe Biden is incompetent, not at all. It is because Joe Biden does not share the goals of the American people for America to prosper, for our economy to prosper, for America to still be a force for good in the world. He doesn't share any of those goals. he looks incompetent because if he did share those goals, he would be failing miserably. He doesn't. He's highly effective. So this is going to be the third phase of the learning. That no, okay, you get rid of Joe Biden, you put in Kamala or Klobuchar or Pete Buttigieg, nothing changes. The suffering doesn't stop. Nothing changes. This is the Democrat agenda. It's because of the party, not Joe. And unfortunately, our side has been the biggest spreader of disinformation on that they go on TV and pretend that he's trying so hard to secure that border, man. He is trying. He wants it to be as secure as we do, but he's just failing. Why do we lie? He's not failing. He told us he was going to welcome all of the world's migrants here. There are 200 million. What part of that? He put it in writing. Did you not understand? He told us he was going to end fracking. What part of that did you not understand? Well, oh gosh, Joe's just trying to get them oil prices down, but he's incompetent. That's the Republicans' message. What are you saying? We're saying to America, well, if you just replace old Joe, everything will be fine. Just replace him with another Democrat. They can't bring themselves to say it. This is a destructive agenda, and the goal is to destroy America in its current form, to break it down and make it fail so they can replace it with whatever they want to replace it with. Why is it so hard to say that? But again, our GOP leadership and many on Fox News continue to repeat the disinformation. And he's a good guy, man. He's just incompetent. Well, what that says to the American people is, well, yeah, okay. All you got to do is replace Joe. It'll be fine. We'll go back to normal. We're never going back to normal. Never. Ever. Again. That America's gone. You let it go. It's too late. We're going to be a state of war from now on, going forward. One side wants to destroy the country, the other does not. And those are the stakes. It's never going to be peaceful again. You're always going to be exhausted by it. Trump was just the beginning of it. It doesn't matter who you replace him with. People thought you get rid of the mean tweets, but it's no. So when I see 79% of America thinks America's out of control, I'm like, yes, they're getting it. This means the Democrats are losing control despite the almost 2 hours I spent on this article on the show, which I never do.
Are you sure that, though? Because I'm just concerned that some of those think that we haven't gone far left enough.
Oh, yeah, there's some of that.
And I'll be honest with you. You could have asked me that question during the Trump administration or the Reagan administration, and I would have said, yes, country's going the wrong track. No question. Not that I blame the current administration, or at least the chief executive, for the ills of the country. But, even during that time, we were going in the wrong direction.
You know what I think it's become, though, and this is good. I think it's become literally, even if you want to just turn it off, turn on sports and forget it, you can't.
Yeah, that's
because you're afraid you'll get hit over the head on the way to work by the criminals running around. And then you're afraid that, and then, if you should make it through the parking lot without getting hit over the head by a guy who will be out in 3 hours, even though he's left you bleeding, if you actually make it into the grocery store, you can't afford what's in there anymore. And so the constant pain is good because it's going to motivate Americans to figure out what is wrong here. Where have we gone wrong? I just think they're going to need another round of lessons to completely figure it out, but we have their attention. And to me, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
That's really good. The massive shift in this same poll, 18-point swing since October 14th toward the GOP. The Democrats were ahead by 2 points in the congressional generic ballot on the 14th. So normally they need to be up by about 5 points because their voters are deadbeats. They don't show up. So, if they're 2 points ahead on the generic, we're going to take Congress. We are up 18 points in 2 weeks.
I find it also, shall I say, humorous that all these charges, that all of these voter changes that were going on were voter suppression, and we have record number of people voting already in the early voting. Record numbers in all these states where there was supposed to be voter suppression going on. These Republican legislatures are keeping minorities from voting. Oh, really? Then why are there record numbers of people showing up to vote?
Well, you remember when they did the polling in Georgia when the Democrats were lying about that about a year ago. And it turned out that black people were slightly more in favor of voter ID than white people. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, not even, the black people who are supposedly the victims of this don't even buy that. And I mean, he told pollsters, yeah, we want voter ID. We don't want people voting who shouldn't be voting. Of course they don't. They're normals. No normal American wants that. But the Democrats, in particular white Democrats, tell us that's what they want. Okay. Meanwhile, the steal of the Senate seat in Pennsylvania is well underway. The Pennsylvania Department of State, they oversee the elections there, is in the process of illegally facilitating 249,000 illegal ballots to be cast. And they're going to need that to get Fetterman over the line. And what's amazing, they're doing this right in front of our face. I mean, they are literally doing it right in front of our face. They're not even hiding it. We know how they're doing it. It's not a secret. There's no shadowy organization involved in the background somewhere. Because they're so confident Republican leadership won't stop them. They are literally stealing the state in front of our eyes. I'll tell you how coming up.
Now look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Got a report of a collision 385 northbound 35-mile marker. That's around the Woodruff Road area. Apparently some injuries involved in that. And also a collision in Greenville County, Main Street at South Carolina 14. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center.
News story, Republicans, the GOP. News story, Republicans, the GOP, according to Washington Examiner, privately expect Attorney General Merrick Garland to indict President Trump. They're thinking 60 to 90 days after the midterm elections. Are you upset about this? I don't know. You know what's going to be interesting? If they indict Trump and there is no sign of a pulse from the GOP leadership, I'm going to tell you what they're going to do. They've already begun it. They're going to turn around and indict DeSantis. What's coming? We watched, and it was a remarkable thing over the last few weeks, the number of investigations launched. And this is what the Democrats do now because the GOP leadership lets them. If somebody looks like an up-and-comer, somebody might be able to beat them or beat some of their candidates, they just go ahead and indict them. And Americans, talk radio listeners need to understand this, and I think we haven't quite figured it out yet. It used to be, if you got indicted, then there was some smoke there, right? I mean, there was something going on. There was a good legal reason that happened to you. But it's not that way anymore. You can get yourself into the Southern District of New York if the federal government can get the case in there, if they can get it into the DC federal courts, especially. It does not matter if there's evidence against you. It does not matter what legal precedent is. It doesn't matter. And I was explaining this yesterday on the Battleground podcast. If you're Elon Musk and you have billions of dollars, it's irrelevant. And I've seen so many comments. Hey, there might be 3 federal investigations going into Elon Musk right now. 2 announced in the last week, by the way. There might be, but don't worry, he's a billionaire. He can handle himself. No, he can't. Nobody can. No amount of money can prepare you for the post-constitutional hellscape, post-American hellscape that these courts are. I mean, when you look at a grand jury pool, because that's who indicts, when you look at the grand jury pool of DC, it is 92% Democrat by registration. So the only thing that matters is your partisan stripe. It doesn't matter what you did, what you didn't do, what the legal precedent is. You could hire the best attorney on earth. It won't matter. It's not going to matter what the standards, Fourth Amendment standards are for search, for seizure, for any of it. Nothing matters. None of it's irrelevant. And we need to stop treating these courts like they're real. These are kangaroo courts. They're not American in culture. They're not American in legality. They're not American in any sort of form of law that we would recognize. We've got to stop treating them like they're real. But you look at what they're doing to DeSantis. You've got a liberal sheriff and liberal county attorney looking to prosecute him in Texas. And then you've got a criminal investigation into DeSantis now out of the Treasury Department. So watch this. You're thinking 30, 60 days, maybe 90 after the election, GOP is expecting Trump to be indicted. And let me tell you, the leadership's very excited about this. They think this is great because they do not like to compete with Trump for money. He has taken a lot of the dollars out of their campaign accounts. He is a head-on competitor, and he outraises them. Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy don't like that. So the way they see it is the Department of Injustice and the FBI is doing them a favor, but they don't understand they're not going to have a candidate because whoever it is who replaces Trump, should he be in prison instead of able to run? I want to Google Brazil to see how this ends. They're going to turn to the next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. I mean, these guys who think, you got Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy who are Bush leftovers. They think, well, it'll be great. We'll just get a Bush guy to run. We'll get one of us, one of the country clubbers. And they want to indict him. Oh, yes, they will. Oh, yes, they will. They want to indict Nikki Haley. She's one of us. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. They will get her. You set this precedent. You let them set this precedent without opening your mouth. You pretend that this court system is real and the way it operates is legitimate. That's what you're going to get. They'll just indict every candidate we put up. All of them, whole field. You'll see that. You'll see it. And again, the facts don't matter. Do not matter. Precedent does not matter. legal arguments, irrelevant. That's what'll happen. They're going to get him. Like I said, it's either going to be Southern District of New York, which is profoundly corrupt courts, kangaroo court, or the D.C. courts, and even call them courts is laughable. So I just want you to be aware of that, because a lot of us, again, we have respect for rule of law. A lot of us think rule of law is still real in these places, and it's not. And Elon Musk is going to face the same thing again. It's not going to matter how many billions he has. It's irrelevant. The system is rigged. He's going to have to move every property, every house, if he's serious. If he won't censor for them, he's going to have to move all of it to a red state. There's going to have to be a red county in a red state, or they'll wreck him. This is how the country fragments. It's how it breaks up. And I don't think it's a bad thing. It's just where it is. It's just where it's going. But there have to be places in the country that are still nominally American. But this is a problem. And, we look at what they're doing in Pennsylvania. It's the opposite. That court system protects their law breaking, because these court systems do this. Do you realize Pennsylvania's Department of State has illegally sent out 249,000 ballots to unverified voters? Flat out violation of law. You cannot do it. They did. And then when they want to turn around and count them, they'll just say voter suppression. Suppressing voters is racist. They're the ones breaking the law, but they get away with it. And again, this is another lost zone for us, Pennsylvania. I mean, there's this legal no man's land. They'll steal seats there. And they're stealing the seat in Pennsylvania right now. This is going to be one of the biggest stories after the election. Either their theft of this seat or their attempt at it. I hope it's the attempt, but 250,000 ballots already gone, and those are just the ones we know about.
A pedestrian died following a collision between two vehicles around 6 p.m. last evening in Greer. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center. Those two vehicles collided at the intersection of Wade Hampton Boulevard and Memorial Drive, with one of those vehicles then striking a man that was standing on a sidewalk at the intersection. The Greenville County Coroner's Office has identified the victim as 27-year-old Charles Ancrum of Greer. A collision also knocked out traffic lights in the area. Greer police had shut down the intersection for about 4 hours last night before the roadway was reopened. An upstate mother is in custody following the death of an infant child. The Anderson County Sheriff's Office says Jenna Feathers has been charged with homicide by child abuse. Investigators say the child was found unresponsive in a bathtub at the family's home. Feathers was reportedly home during the incident, but apparently not near the bathtub when it happened. She's charged in the child's death and facing 3 additional charges of unlawful neglect. The Sheriff's Office says the investigation is still ongoing. We've got more information on this story on our website, 1063word.com. A teenager in custody and a deputy injured after an officer-involved shooting in the Midlands. Deputies and SWAT team personnel from the Aiken County Sheriff's Office responded to a home in the town of Beach Island Friday evening. The Sheriff's Office says a 15-year-old murder suspect was believed to be inside the home. After an exchange of gunfire, that suspect was taken into custody. One of the deputies injured in the shootout was taken to an area hospital. We don't have any information on the deputy's condition. The suspect was not injured. This is the 4th officer-involved shooting in Aiken County this year. SLED is investigating, which is standard protocol, and officer-involved shootings. That's a look at news, the latest traffic, and the upstate's most trusted forecaster next. Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. A collision involving some injuries. Pickens County 6 Mile Highway at Windy Hill Road. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center, brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Got a news tip or story idea? Email news at 1063WORD.com. I'm Lee Rogers with the Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
Good morning. All right. One of the major milestones of fall already behind us. That's right. Can you believe? First day of November. Nuts, right? By the way, I'm on Rumble. I'm sorry. I've gotten booted out of the studio. I apologize. I'll get it fixed. Yeah. Still going through growing pains with that. Here we go. Got it fixed. I apologize for that. Yeah, so keep it tuned to Rumble. I think it's been a smoother broadcast today than it has the last couple of days. Yeah, you can go to rumble.com and then my channel, Tara Servatius. I've got it up live. Yay. Okay, so a couple of different things. What's going on in Pennsylvania? It's going to be a big story after the election, especially if the Democrats are able to steal the seat. And this is not some weird conspiracy with voting machines or some weird thing like that. It's literally the Department of State that runs those elections there, and they're doing it out in the open. In Pennsylvania, you have to request an absentee ballot in writing. That is the law. It's not negotiable. It's not whatever the Democrats feel right now. It's the law. And yet, they have sent out or allowed counties who answer to them to send out, these are mostly Democrat-controlled counties, 249,000 illegal ballots to unverified voters to receive mail-in ballots for the 2022 general election. So, yeah. Okay. So here's what happened. It's a two-step law-breaking process for the Democrats. In the state, in that particular state, in Pennsylvania, you have to, their state law is that you have to follow the Help America Vote Act. You have to, anybody registers, has got to, to vote in a federal election, which the Senate is, has to provide last four digits of their Social Security, a form of a driver's license number. They've got to have ID to register, right? Well, they just went around 2018. We just don't feel like doing that, so we just won't. Well, but you're breaking the law. And I just put these people on the roll. So what does that mean? Democrats could have registered anybody. And Republicans could have too. They didn't, but they're afraid to go to prison. Democrats aren't. But you just show up and you can just register. You don't need those things. So the Secretary of State there, who's a Democrat, just said, well, whatever, just register. That's against the law. Nobody cares. They're Democrats. When you vote, they're supposed to verify the accuracy of the information provided by the applicant. And you're supposed to provide proof of your ID when you vote. Like you request the absentee ballot, but Dice didn't bother. So what counties there did, the Democrats went a step further and said, we'll just let the Democrat Party mail out a couple 100,000 ballots. What? Isn't that illegal? Yeah, it's illegal. Oh, okay. Aren't by law, isn't the registered voter whose ID was supposed to be verified but wasn't, aren't they supposed to request a ballot in writing? In that the law? Uh-huh. Okay. So first they illegally registered them in 2018. That's the first step. So we don't even know if these people are real. Then the Democrat Party, let me get straight. Then the Democrat Party turns around in violation of law and just mails these people. And only these people absentee ballots. Yep. Illegally. A registered voter is supposed to request the mail-in ballot, and the application requires a driver's license number, last four digits of the voter's Social Security, which they were supposed to provide when they registered, except they didn't because they broke the law. So this is the second step in the law-breaking process. Where in the Hades is the National Republican Party? Where? Where was Trump? I ain't blame him anymore. It's on Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell this time. It's not Trump's problem. They're going to steal it again. So the voters' identifications, they're supposed to request this ballot. You mail it to the Board of Elections, not the Democrat. By the way, Democrat Party's not supposed to be involved anywhere here. They have no right to mail out these ballots. Oh, and they're letting the Democrats mail them out. The Republicans aren't mailing them out. You get a special, break the law card when you're a Democrat. So your ID is supposed to be checked in your request for a ballot. That creates a paper trail because you've sent it through the mail, and then they turn around and mail you the ballot. They've just disregarded all of this. Just disregarded it. Now, if the ID numbers don't match or some other kind of problem, the voter can get the ballot anyway, but they're supposed to file it in the non-verified category. And if you want your vote to count, you got to come in afterward with your ID individually. The voter has to, and they can verify the ballot. So instead of the state verifying the voter ID before sending out the ballot, counties are supposed to separate the not verified ballots and the verified identification. Never mind, these people are illegally registered to vote. I mean, it is just, God, I can't wrap my mind around it. So the illegal directive by the Democrat Secretary of State to register voters without verification of identity, that was the first breaking law. How is this woman not in prison? Combined with the delivery of mail ballots without verification, that is the second breaking of the law in Pennsylvania. And they're saying this morning, these Republicans, 15 of them in the legislature trying to stop it. Wait, they're in 30? God, this party creates the conditions that shifts the burden of verification from the Department of State's automatic matching system to guess who? County election officials. Oh. Democrat-controlled counties? Uh-huh. So, in fact, just understand here. Maybe somebody can explain this to Sidney Powell. This is how they're stealing the election in front of our faces. The Epoch Times explains it this morning. Let me just read you the paragraph. The certified 2020 election results in Pennsylvania, so this is going back to 2020 election, showed Joe Biden winning with 80,000 more votes than Donald Trump, right? Well, they did this in Pennsylvania back in 2020. So 249,000 ballots, certainly enough to unverified voters who were illegally registered and now are illegally voting with the help of the Democrat Party, who is not even supposed to be involved in this process. Ugh! This means that 249,000 ballots already sent out. That could be the difference. Now, Fetterman, as Bill Maher, the liberal comedian, said, is the Democrats' first dead candidate. He's not notably alive after the stroke. So, I mean, he may be even harder to push over the line than Joe Biden was. How is this happening? I mean, how are they so blatant about it and so bold? It's just... They're going to do it in Nevada, too. Don't kid yourself. They'll do it in Arizona. You're going to see this is going to be all over. It's going to be all over again. So understand at this point, okay, this is where we are. Let me bottom line this for you. Whoever wins Pennsylvania, and I use the term win very loosely, we'll have no idea who actually won. And this is what the Democrats do. This is how Joe Biden was elected in those swing states. It is unknowable who won the election. Why? Because let me tell you what they're going to do in Pennsylvania. They're going to do this is the same playbook. I know what they're going to do. They did it in 2020. They'll be the, oopsie, did we not separate the ballots out? Oh, those ones by the voters we illegally registered. We never verified their ID. Yeah, those ballots. And then the Democrats illegally sent them ballots because the Secretary of State, who's a Democrat, let them. And then they voted illegally. So it's like 3 times illegal stuff there. And they will, oops, those votes will end up in the general voter pool. Unfindable. Because guess what? Once you take them out of the envelope, who's to say who voted? That's the next step. That article hasn't come out yet, but I'm just pre-doing it. Because that's what they're going to do next. They're going to say no, so sorry. I mean, we didn't know. We open them, we put them in a stack. There's no way to find them. 2020 all over again. I wonder how many times this is going to happen before we learn.
Now we'll look at traffic from the 106.3 WORD Traffic Center. Spartanburg County got a collision. Bowling Springs Road at South Carolina 9. Pickens County collision involving some injuries. 6 Mile Highway at Windy Hill Road. Now the upstate's most trusted forecast from the 106.3 WORD 24/7 Weather Center.
Good news. Democrats worried about a seat in New York where Biden won by 20. It shows you the shift in the American people. I'm excited about this. I don't care what other people say. American people are getting it. They had to feel the misery to realize the Democrat agenda was real, and it's not going to end anytime soon. It's going to get worse. But it means we got their attention. The thing I have feared the most for the many years I've done this is that we would just slip into tyranny. People wake up on it, unable to escape, none the wiser. And that is not going to happen. That was my biggest fear. People are wide awake, and they're about to get even wide awaker after this midterm, let me tell you, because it's not going to stop. Did you see this from The Atlantic? This blows my mind. You know what they want? These liars, these brutes, they want everybody to just forgive and forget about COVID. Just forgive and forget. Professor wrote it. She says, listen, people made some bad decisions. Lockdowns. Social distancing doesn't stop the spread. Well, come on. Everything they told us about COVID was flat out lie. But they were trying so hard in the time they were doing it, they just only made a few mistakes. And they just want everybody to forgive. No complaining. Republicans, this is what this is about. Republicans, you just shut up, not point out how they got it right, how their economies are booming because they ignored the thuggery of Democrats. And they want you to believe, well, they meant well, but they were just, no, they did not mean well. No, they did not. See, if they were out there just, making a few bad decisions, they got a few things wrong, that would be understandable, but they got everything wrong. And then they got caught lying. They got caught getting people fired from their jobs for not taking a shot when inside the CDC, according to their own documents, I will never forget this, they knew there was no effectiveness to that shot for stopping the spread, none whatsoever. They were getting people fired. They were getting people killed by telling their vaccinated relatives it was safe to visit them. It wasn't in the nursing home. They didn't care who died. It was about the power. So you know what I say? No forgiveness. See, it's one thing if you get it wrong when you're just gosh darn trying, but they weren't gosh darn trying. They were lying. And we know that from their own internal documents. They were literally the same week they were telling you it was 95% effective at stopping the spread. Rochelle Walensky, Anthony Fauci, we know inside their agency's documents saying the opposite were circulating because the Washington Post busted them. So this whole, hey, let's not talk about this as an election. Well, they were really trying. No. And when all that information came out, it didn't matter. Lockdowns didn't work. Social distancing didn't work. Folks, the world's most prominent virologists told us that in the beginning, and they were canceled. The Barrington Declaration, which turned out to be 100% right, totally canceled. These are the world's foremost names in virology. You couldn't even post about the Barrington Declaration. And they want forgiveness now because it makes them look bad in the election? Kiss my grits, as Flo used to say.
Election day now just a week away, and while Republicans are favored to take back the House, the Senate on a knife's edge. Candidates in 4 key races are running neck and neck there. Good morning, I'm Lee Rogers and the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center, where Fox's Madeline Rivera reports on that story.
A new poll shows Democratic incumbent senators in Nevada and Georgia either locked in a dead heat or leading narrowly over their Republican opponents. Senator Mark Kelly, the Democratic incumbent in Arizona, holds the biggest lead, ahead of his Republican challenger by a 51% to 45% margin. In Pennsylvania, Democratic Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman is up slightly against Republican celebrity Dr. Mehmet Oz. Republicans and Democrats are rolling out heavy hitters to barnstorm battleground states and stump for their colleagues. President Biden and former President Obama are ramping up their schedules, but it's unclear if their support will sway voters.
And as Election Day approaches, President Biden aims to address the issue of rising oil prices. The president declares that major oil companies are taking record profits as a result of the war in Ukraine and other events, leading to a strong response from oil companies. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson has the details now from the White House.
Just 1 week before the midterm elections, critics are calling this potential Hail Mary by the president, delivered from the Roosevelt Room.
Oil companies' record profits today are not because they're doing something new or innovative. Their profits are a windfall of war, the windfall from the brutal conflict that's ravaging Ukraine.
The oil and gas industry firing back in a statement, quote, "The president rails against big oil profits and shareholders the same day his senior energy advisors in the Middle East telling the global industry that more investment is needed in the oil and gas sector and is needed right now. You won't have more investment in a sector if there is no potential return."
President Biden tweeted, quote, "The oil industry has a choice: either invest in America by lowering prices for consumers at the pump and increasing production and refining capacity, or pay a higher tax on your excessive profits and face other restrictions," end quote. The Powerball jackpot grows to the 4th largest in U.S. history as it reaches $1 billion or more for only the 2nd time in Powerball history.
The jackpot magic was missing for Halloween night's Powerball drawing because no one won the $1 billion grand prize. That means Wednesday night's drawing will be worth an estimated $1.2 billion, with a cash option of nearly $600 million. Saying estimated is certainly important in this case because when a jackpot gets this high, lotto fever is likely to kick in and push the prize to an even more astonishing level. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
Some lucky ticket buyers bought in Florida, New York, and Oklahoma won $2 million in Monday night's drawing. Several other states had $1 million winners. South Carolina Policy Council and Americans for Tax Reform held news conferences around the state yesterday, including Greenville, to promote 2 new proposed state constitutional amendments.
The 2 amendments would require the state to save more of its tax revenue to a point that follows more closely with the general and capital reserve funds of other states.
These amendments don't raise taxes whatsoever. They tell the government to spend less and save more. This saves money in case we have hurricanes, floods, natural disasters, or most often when we have a big economic recession. You know, the state government cannot do like the federal government and print its own money. So this just has a little more in the safety reserve accounts so that government can keep running at the level it's running, so they don't have to raise taxes and so they don't have to cut government services.
That was Dallas Woodhouse, the executive director of the South Carolina Policy Council. Both of these amendments will be on the November 8th ballot in South Carolina. For more on this story, visit our website. I'm Matthew Causey, 1063WORD.com News.
1063 WORD News Time, 9:04. Business News brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean. Download the free Odyssey app, follow 1063 WORD, and have news alerts sent to your phone. I'm Lee Rogers with the Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
Live on Rumble and at rumble.com, the Tara Servatius channel, and here, of course, at 1063 WORD. Hey, Lee.
Hey there, Tara. We're
You know-
also on the radio, aren't we?
Yeah, we're on the radio too. The
Amazing.
old-fashioned way, right?
Yeah.
For now. But remember the Ministry of Truth?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, apparently they never stopped running the Ministry of Truth. It's still alive and well. It's being run out of the Department of Homeland Security. They just pretended they stopped running. You could call it fake news, if you will.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely shocking story this morning from The Intercept. I recommend that you read it. It will, just leave your jaw hanging open. It's, it really is there's no words for it. Wait, just to recap, we have gotten internal documents from the Department of Homeland Security, the FBI, and this agency Trump created called CISA that was actually created to stop hacking because we'd had some corporate hacking that they claim the Russians did. And the CISA organization, which was under the Department of Homeland Security, never bothered with the hacking part. After Trump signed the legislation, basically they just turned right around and started censoring Trump supporters and conservatives, including members of the media, because they think that's what their charge is. Unfortunately, the charge Congress actually gave them was to protect our critical infrastructure against hacking, but they couldn't be bothered with that. This is really scary, Lee. Inside the Department of Homeland Security's own documents, Congress gave them a charter. They have a purpose. It is to fight the war on terror, keep the homeland safe, right? Pretty simple. That's why they were created after 9/11. But they decided just don't want to do that anymore. They're kind of bored with that. Plus, terrorism's sort of out of style anyway. It's not really politically correct to go after terrorists. I mean, they are just freedom fighters after all, even if they come here and blow stuff up. So they decided to go after the real enemies, you and me. As The Intercept reported, the Department of Homeland Security has pivoted from monitoring terror and fighting foreign threats on the homeland soil to monitoring social media. That is what they now perceive to be their purpose.
So they rewrote their job description.
Yeah.
How do you think that would go over if you and I tried that?
Not so well.
Yeah.
The FBI has done essentially the same thing. They're not super interested in terrorism anymore. This is from The Intercept this morning. In a March meeting, Laura Demlow, an FBI official, warned that the threat of subversive information on social media could undermine support for the U.S. government. So they're censoring it. So this is bigger than what we thought. This is not just, hey, it's Fauci's way or the highway, and don't talk about the Wuhan lab. See, this all makes sense. This is why they're censoring the origins, because they know that the Pentagon funded the COVID, the Wuhan lab, $39 million, right? And that would fit under what they think their new mandate is, which is to prevent any negative information about the federal government from coming out. Quote, could undermine support for the U.S. government, unquote. That's their new charter that they think they have. So again, they went so far as to censor information about the very poor handling of our exit from Afghanistan. It's just made the federal government look bad, and that fit in their charter, so it had to be censored.
Let's look down the road just a little bit on this.
Oh, it's
now,
scary.
But now here's the thing. Let's say that next week Republicans get a major victory and they take control of the House and Senate. And let's say, just for hypothetical reasons here, that the Republicans then take control of the White House in 2024. If the government can do things against entities that are saying negative things about the government, then wouldn't this turn on Democrats in 2024?
No, they have. See, I've been talking about that on the Battleground podcast. I think that Democrats have transcended elections, that these agencies answer to them no matter who is in power. I mean, we have absolutely seen that with the FBI. And let me give you an example. The agency that is the ringleader of all of this, right? They are running this new censorship operation where it is so shocking. There are literally portals on Twitter and Facebook where where bureaucrats log in and then they go pick. They can click on what post they want to censor. That agency it's called CISA inside the Department of Homeland Security. It was started by the Republicans because we controlled Congress at the time and signed into being by President Trump. Total Republican power at the time. And the second that legislation passed, Trump's appointee turned that agency against us. They never really bothered with the protecting the infrastructure from hacking thing. It bored them, I guess. And they immediately began spying on us.
Sounds like we need a new mantra: defund the bureaucracy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Republicans are going to have to get it eventually that, look, it does not matter anymore if we're in power or not. These agencies do not answer to us, period. And we saw that. I mean, the best example of that I can think of was Trump's first 2 years when, the House Intelligence Committee under Republican control lobbed 36 subpoenas at the FBI and the Department of Justice that absolutely would have uncovered that Russia collusion was not only fake, it was from the Democrats and it was from Hillary, but they never bothered to comply with the subpoenas. And normally the mechanism that makes the FBI and the DOJ comply with subpoenas is prosecution by the DOJ, like they're doing right now to Steve Bannon, right? Because he's a Trumper, so he gets prosecuted. Well, I mean, these agencies just we don't answer to Republicans. We don't answer their request for subpoena. We just don't care. And the DOJ said we certainly don't prosecute when we ourselves in the FBI don't answer subpoenas. So they just gaffed it off.
Gee, that sounds like a threat to democracy, Tara.
Well, remember when Hillary's computers and devices and several of her staff were under subpoena and the FBI destroyed them?
Yep. The devices, not the people.
Yeah, the devices. So, I mean, this is their attitude. I mean, this whole idea, I mean, I've heard other talk show hosts say it too, that like, oh, well, we'll be in charge. So?
Yeah.
So?
Yeah.
These agencies don't answer to us. We'll be in charge in name, but that's not going to matter. And that's why I keep saying the Democrats are transcending elections. It doesn't really matter who holds the seats. It does for passing legislation, but if you want a federal agency to implement, I mean, good luck.
Please note the sarcasm, but boy, that just doesn't sound like a democracy, does it?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. It doesn't sound like a democracy.
Sounds like a totalitarian government reminiscent of the Soviet Union or the current Communist Party in China.
It does. And I mean, listen to who's in charge. This is the scariest thing. Wait, I'll let Fox News tell you, because I guess sometimes I just cut this stuff so you'll hear it from someone other than me, because I know when it comes out of my mouth, it sounds so unbelievable. Just listen to who is heading this effort. It's a FBI agent by the name of Laura Demlow.
The FBI agent who actively worked to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story is now advising The FBI agent who actively worked to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story is now advising the Biden administration's push to suppress misinformation on social media. The Intercept reporting Laura Demlow warned officials that the threat of misinformation on social media could undermine support for the U.S. government. During a meeting in March attended by Twitter execs, Demlow reportedly said, quote, "We need a media infrastructure that is held accountable." Leaked DHS documents obtained by the Intercept detail these plans, which include suppressing information on the origins of COVID-19, racial justice, and last year's U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan, among other topics. Republicans have vowed to investigate the U.S.'s chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan and the subsequent Taliban takeover of that country.
Yeah, so she did such a great job lying to the American people, covering up Hunter's crimes, selling the laptop as disinformation to these social media outlets. They put her in charge of lying to the people. They call that fighting disinformation, ironically.
Which is exactly what it is disinformation to begin with. So,
but this is a problem, and I don't see a way out of it, Lee. Again, sort of just shutting these agencies down. I mean, if the Department of Homeland Security, in their own words, in their own documents that the Intercept has gotten, has said, look, we're just not fighting terrorism anymore. That is not our primary focus. We're going to fight speech that makes the federal government look bad. Well, we need to shut them down because they're not even fulfilling their mission.
There was a satirical comic that used to run in newspapers called Pogo. And there was a comment made by one of the characters that said, "We have found the enemy and the enemy are us."
Yeah. Yeah. And it is us. So, and again, unfortunately, I don't think we have Republican leadership, or we won't coming out of this election, even if we win, that's going to be willing to do what it takes to stop the persecution, ironically, of Republicans, which is, again, Department of Homeland Security got to go. And the FBI has to go. It has to be shut down. And that is now a mainstream position. The Federalist advocated for that. So did the National Review. So those are the country clubbers in the Republican Party. So we need the leadership to get the message, because otherwise we are going to lose. I mean, Vijaya Gadde, who was just fired by Elon Musk from Twitter, right?
Yeah.
She leads this effort on a committee inside CISA, this federal agency. And the effort she was leading is very interesting that he fired her. I don't know if he knew this about her. This is when, outside of her role as chief censor at Twitter, she was leading a charge to spread the censorship just, from social media. She wanted to censor Fox News, all media outlets, and talk radio. That was their plan. That's what they're doing right now. We have those documents. Because, I guess I figured, it's so easy to censor social media. Why not just roll over everybody else?
Yeah.
So they're planning to censor everyone and everything.
Another shovel of dirt on the coffin of the First Amendment.
Yeah. And again, with the current Republican leadership, Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, we don't have 4 years for them to screw around and pretend this isn't going on, because we're not going to have a country in 4 years at this rate. So, it's not going to be enough to just win the House. We're going to have real leadership. We're going to have members of Congress who get it, that this is not 1994. This is it. This is the stakes. We don't have time to pretend it's not going on anymore, as Kevin McCarthy does. First class halt is Extra live and extra local, kind of like extra crunchy, live on rumble.com on my channel, Tara Servatius, all one word. And you can catch Charlie on his channel on rumble.com in the afternoon, Charlie on air. Okay. Texture rates, the U.S. government is what's undermining support for our government. Oops, I'll be monitored for sure now. Save me a cell in your gulag cell block, Tara. Yeah, no problem. Texture rates. Tara, you're a fool if you think that this election means anything. It's the Republicans win. If the Republican wins, I think they mean if the Republicans win, which I doubt, nothing's going to change. Nothing will change. The Republicans are cowards, complicit, or compromised. Okay, I'll tell you what will change, okay? Persecution by the FBI will not change. The censorship will not change. None of it will change. But what will change is the destruction of our economy and our dollar. The idea that, we can print $1 trillion every quarter in addition to the 2 to 4 trillion we print when we print half the federal budget. That is what has propped up inflation. And so there'll be a lot less of that. That doesn't mean the Republicans won't print too. They will. They're going to have to print half the budget because we simply don't collect that much in revenue. But, all of the, hey, let's spend $4 or $5 trillion extra a year in addition to the budget, that's going to go away. And our, economy, inflation, it will have a chance to heal. That's pretty much what we get. We have a government that is now rogue. It is not responsive to Republicans in any way. It exists to persecute Republicans. And again, our leaders are fine with that. And that's our fault. But there are a lot of good things that will come from, electing Republicans. It's not all bad. So that's where we are. Text rates, let's clarify. States are democracies. The nation is a republic. There is a difference. People need to understand that. Yeah. No, that's a big deal. Meanwhile, I want to hit this and I turn on the audio. Because this really is time. Do you remember when Judge Kavanaugh was nearly murdered, and his entire family, by the way, because that guy was going to kill the family? After Democrats encouraged, can you imagine? Okay, can you imagine if Republican leadership, mind you, had said, "Hey, you know what you need to do? Even though it's illegal for you to trespass on Nancy Pelosi's property, you need to go there. Even if it's illegal, you need to go there, and you need to give Nancy a piece of your mind." Can you imagine if GOP leadership had said that? They didn't, but can you imagine if they did? And then somebody showed up with zip ties. And the left loves those zip ties. He had zip ties. So did Kavanaugh's killer. His attempted assassin. He had zip ties. See, but the difference here is the Democrat leadership said, even though it is against the federal law for you to picket outside a Supreme Court justice's home, just go do it anyway. Again, can you imagine GOP leadership saying, hey, it's illegal for you to trespass on Nancy's property, but, go ahead and go there anyway. Exercise your First Amendment rights, which you don't actually have because it's trespassing on her property. Oh, it would never end. But that's what the Democrat leadership did. And then do you remember, after the attempted assassination, was zip ties? Because zip ties is a big deal for Saul Shutt. Zip ties. He says, oh, zip ties. There's the evidence. Zip ties. Oh, you got zip ties. Well, that's serious. Well, so did the Kavanaugh killer. The lunatic, the left-wing loon, who flat out said he was doing this for women. He was going to kill Kavanaugh and change the voter makeup of the Supreme Court so that women could have all the abortions they wanted. So what what his plan was. He was directly responding to Democrat rhetoric after the Democrats said, hey, listen, go to his house. Was that their fault? Oh, heck no. But then, when they could do something about it, when the Republicans sponsored legislation beefing up protection for the Supreme Court justices at their homes, what did, ironically, Nancy Pelosi, of all people, do? She blocked it. Why'd she do that? She didn't want anybody interfering with the Democrats harassing Supreme Court justices and attempting to kill them outside their homes. Why, by God, they had to keep up the pressure. If somebody gets killed, somebody gets killed. That wasn't a theoretical anymore. A killer had already made it to the front of Kavanaugh's home with zip ties. You see a problem here? They are laughing at us. They don't mean any of this. Every once in a while, though, you'll hear a Republican actually fight for us. And it makes me wonder, like, if we actually fought, what could we do? Here, hold on with the music. Stop for a minute. This is Representative Tom Emmer. I want you to hear this. He's talking about the shooting of Steve Scalise by the Bernie Sanders supporter who wrote half a dozen letters to the editor quoting Democrat talking points on healthcare. And as he was shooting everyone, trying to kill them, and almost killed Steve Scalise, screamed that this was in retaliation for murdering people with the Republican healthcare plan. Okay, so it couldn't get any more clear cut than that. But did anybody blame Democrats? Oh, heck no. Did Democrats blame Democrats? Oh, heck no. Did Democrats tone down the rhetoric? Oh, double heck no. Here's Representative Tom Emmer. It's today's epic rant.
I never saw anyone.
By the way, he is on NBC. This is how easy it is to beat them if you just fight back.
I never saw anyone after Steve Scalise was shot by a Bernie Sanders supporter
now,
trying to equate Democrat rhetoric with those actions. Please don't do that.
Okay. Looking at your...
That's all it takes. That's all we have to do. But no, Kevin McCarthy goes on television condemning, we condemn the attack. You don't have to condemn the attack, honey. He wasn't one of us. He wasn't us. He wasn't one of us. He's an illegal immigrant. By the way, this guy's an illegal immigrant. Hello? GOP. Hello? There's your talking. You want a talking point? Instead of going on there all hangdog face, pretending like we screwed up again, which he did not. He's not one of us. Never has been. Black Lives Matter flag, no way. Gay pride flag outside. So come on. Illegal immigrants finally made it to Democrats' front doors. Their fault. He was an illegal immigrant from Canada. They let him in. They let him stay. So they want to work with Democrats to keep Paul Pelosi safe in the future. Let's send the illegals home. How hard is this? How hard? But no, Kevin McCarthy goes out there and acts like it's our fault. These people, I swear, with friends like this, who needs enemies, right? It's nuts.
A pedestrian died following a collision between two vehicles last evening in Greer. Good morning. I'm Lee Rogers in the 106.3 WORD 24/7 News Center. This look at news being brought to you by Zero Res. Schedule your appointment today at ZeroResGreenville.com. Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards. It's a right way to clean. At collision around 6 last evening involved two vehicles at the intersection of Wade Hampton Boulevard and Memorial Drive in Greer, with one of those vehicles striking a man that was standing on a sidewalk at the intersection. The Greenville County Coroner's Office has identified the victim as 27-year-old Charles Ancrum of Greer. That collision also knocked out traffic lights in the area. Greer police had to shut down the intersection for about 4 hours last evening before the roadway was reopened. An upstate sheriff pushing back as a historically black university president statement accusing law enforcement officials of racial profiling in a recent bus stop. Shaw University President Paulette Dillard wrote that she was outraged after law enforcement officers in Spartanburg County on October 5th stopped a contract bus transporting students on I-85 from the historically black college in Raleigh to a conference in Atlanta. Spartanburg County Sheriff Chuck Wright emphasizing at a Monday morning press conference that deputies stopped the unmarked Greyhound-like bus with tinted windows because it had been swerving on the interstate. This case right here has absolutely nothing to do with racism. That quote from Sheriff Chuck Wright. Republican U.S. Representative Nancy Mace of South Carolina getting a re-election boost from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. Chris Lee has details.
The California Republican is appearing with Mace this week for a fundraiser in Charleston. Mace's campaign says Miami Mayor Francis Suarez and former Hawaii Rep Tulsi Gabbard are also stumping for her in the closing week before the midterm elections. Mace's campaign says the diverse array of political figures showcases her broad appeal as she runs for her second House term. Mace faces Democrat Annie Andrews in the November 8th general election. I'm Chris Lee, 106.3 WORD.com News.
That's a look at news. The upstate's most trusted forecast is coming up next. Got a news tip or story idea? Email news at 1063word.com. I'm Lee Rogers with the Tara Show on the Upstate's talk station 1063 WORD.
Conservative justices, Supreme Court on Monday seemed open to ending decades of Supreme Court precedent, allowing race-conscious admission decisions at college and universities. But I got to tell you what, this is personal for me. And look, my situation might be rare, but it was real to me. I worked my butt off in school. I got really good grades. And I got into some good schools. And they tell you just, aim for the moon, just pick your dream school and aim for that. So I did. I got in. And then and then I was to learn that wasn't really quite true. You couldn't go to your dream school. That wasn't true. So my parents were solidly middle class, so I didn't get to go. I remember crying as I sent the letters of rejection. I went to my safety school. This was state school, was the only one that we could afford. Because my dad had 2 kids behind me. Not the end of the world, whatever. So there I was at UNC Chapel Hill, not where I wanted to be, not very happy at all. And I'd graduated at the top of my class. I wasn't valedictorian, but I was pretty close to the top. And I'm walking around campus, UNC. And there she is, this girl that I went to private school with. See, my mom worked night shift as a nurse to send me to private school, and we struggled. We were broke. I didn't have the nice clothes other kids did, and that created a weird situation for me socially. And I ended up hanging out with a handful of other middle-class kids whose parents all did the same, made tremendous sacrifices for us to be there. And there she was. I said, "What's she doing here?" The girl from my class. She was black. She came from very affluent parents. Her father was a prominent attorney in town, very well-known guy, very well-paid guy. I'll never forget, she crashed her BMW because she was a party girl. She crashed her, she was a cheerleader, typical, beautiful girl. Crashed her BMW, and her parents were very concerned about that, so they bought her a brand new Volvo so she wouldn't hurt herself. The bottom quarter of our class, the GPAs weren't published. And I checked. She was in the bottom quarter of our class. That wasn't because she wasn't smart or anything. She seemed perfectly intelligent. She just partied a lot. She had a great time in high school. I didn't. I was working my butt off. But she was black. And so there I was at UNC Chapel Hill, my safety school, after the, sort of bitterness of not being able to go to the schools I wanted to go to because we couldn't afford it. And there she was. And I said, "Was she visiting?" Because, some of the kids who'd gone there were friends of hers. They said, "No, she goes here." Come again? How does she go here? She didn't get the grades to go here. I thought, was she on a sports scholarship or something? Because she had been a cheerleader. I thought, wait, the first thing I thought was she must be on the cheerleading team or something. It's how she got here. Nah. Race-based scholarship. Wait, it's free? But her parents are wealthy. They had a huge house. Yeah. Wow. So this was personal for me. It's still personal for me. If this had been a kid, I don't care, black, white, whatever color, whose parents had struggled more than mine, who had grown up poor and fought their way up, there's something about that's plucky that I admire. And I could say, well, she didn't have the grades, so I did. She didn't work like I did, but I get it. Tough background, or maybe a kid who'd had to work 2 jobs to keep their parents afloat and didn't have time to study and get the grades that I got, do the work I did. Like I honestly could have lived with that in my heart, but not that. I was bitter about it for a long, long time. She got the money I needed. She got it. So I hope the Supreme Court makes the right decision here. I don't have a problem with families who are low income and who have struggled, regardless of their race. I don't care what your race is. Getting scholarships, getting in, or maybe getting a little bit of preference in admissions. But the idea that we're just going to do this based on skin color is so unfair. And it's not right. It isn't fair. We do it economically great, but that shouldn't be the way that it is. Well, that's just my experience. But all those years later, it still shapes me. Like, what is she doing here? By the way, she didn't graduate. And that she struggled academically. Well, it wasn't fair to her. She didn't have the background to do it because she'd partied her way through high school. And I don't even know where she is today. I should look her up. I'd be curious. And it wasn't fair to her either. It didn't do a service to her either. The school without the academic background. And she was there in the summer because they had like remedial classes to catch kids up. It just, the whole thing was bad. So I hope that the Supreme Court, if we are going to reserve places for people who have had it hard in life, let's give it to somebody who's had it hard in life, regardless of their race. Let's give it to somebody whose story is inspirational. Yeah, I worked 2 jobs part-time, but still managed to be valedictorian of my class, and I beat out kids that, didn't have to work. I mean, a story like that, I love that. Like, I'm like, yeah, you know what? I am with you. I get it. I want to cut you a break. You deserve a break because you've earned it, but not this, not anymore. Let's not tear the country up this way anymore. It's not fair. And one of the worst discrimination that we are seeing. And you know why we need to end this? Because I'm telling you, every part of college is now becoming discriminatory, particularly if you're male. And that's not good. And now we have open discrimination against Asians as well. It's just no. I mean, the best and the brightest. That's who should go. With an asterisk for folks who've had to overcome more. Do you see the report live on Fox right now? Teens using their cell phones an average of 10 hours a day. Wow. You know, I'm kind of running on fumes today because I took the kids trick-or-treating last night. It's just a little later than, it's late for me because I get in here early. And I was remembering this conversation I had with this guy. He's new in the neighborhood, so this was his first Halloween. And he was a little stressed by the time we got by his house because he was saying he was running out of candy. He's not going to have enough. And he said, I had no idea there were so many kids in this neighborhood. And our neighborhood is slam packed. Full of kids. I mean, a shocking number of kids. And he said, I've never seen them before. And I said, yeah, they're inside on their devices all day. They only come out one day a year. And I said, the same thing happened to me first year. We way underestimated the number of kids that were in the neighborhood because they don't come out at all. I was like, yeah, they put their devices down once a year, and he laughed. But it's true. It's true. It's a shame too. It's good to get out and get some air. So, speaking of getting out and exercising, this is fascinating. Just 2 minutes of exercise a day can help you live longer. Okay, this is not the first, second, or third of these studies. Very interesting. And now I've begun to meet people in great shape who are doing this. The idea is that you go full out. None of this like 40 minutes of exercising or sweating. It's that no, you can accomplish more in 2 minutes and 40 seconds, but you got to go full out. They found they spent years tracking 70,000 people ages 40 to 70 using activity trackers like Fitbit. So this is like not one of these self-reported studies either, which is what's really cool. And the people who got just 15 minutes of vigorous exercise a week, that's all. It's about 2 minutes per day. Were 18% less likely to die over the next 5 years. So that is powerful. And they lived an average of 2 years longer. You know what's interesting about this? I had a friend in college. She had run track in high school, and she ran track for UNC the first year she was there, but then not after that. And she was just in an astonishingly good shape. And I'd ask her, what do you do? You must run miles a day. She's like, nah, about 5 minutes. And I would see her, and she would go, running by the dorms. She'd go blazing by, like at ridiculous top speed, like she was running for her life. And I'm like, 5 minutes? And she's like, yeah, but you got to go all out. And she had learned it on track. And she's like, you can look like you are a track star, but you're not. And I kind of shook that off. I don't know. I should probably have good metabolism. Nobody looks like that. But then I've met others who've done it too. It's called interval training. You should look it up. There's different kinds of it. But it works really well. And the idea is that your body will very quickly condition you in terms of, gaining muscle mass, your heart, your circulation, if it perceives a threat. So in other words, wow, last week I had to run from the saber tooth. I barely made it. This week, my body's going to be ready for that. It's like an evolutionary mechanism for your body. And it works. And so this is the biggest study that has shown this 70,000 people aged 40 to 70. So here's what they say to do, okay? Because we can all do this. It's not hard. You don't want to go flat out for 15 minutes. That'd probably give you a heart attack if you're not used to it. They had people pedal hard on a stationary bike for 4 seconds, take a short break, repeat the process 5 times, do the whole thing 8 times a day. Or you could do it over multiple days. Anyway, it's 2 minutes and 40 seconds of exercise, but you got to go full on out. So in other words, what that means, according to both studies, just 2 to 3 minutes a day might help. I started doing this, and oh my God, I was the sorest I've ever been. I just went running flat out. Not very far, not very long. Have you ever worked out with weights? Oh my, this is just beyond that. And it's like every muscle in your body. It feels good, actually. And it'll get you in phenomenal shape. You look like you're in phenomenal shape. Anyway, it works. So cool to see another story about that. So there you go. Get out, get some sunshine, walk around, maybe even run a little. Extend your life and have a great day. Nice and sunny out there. That would have been nice last night for the trick-or-treating, huh?